Meeting is now called to order. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Trustee Williams.
Here.
Trustee Brooks.
Present.
Trustee Jenkins Bell.
Present.
Trustee Franklin.
Here.
Trustee Bolden.
Present.
Trustee McMullen.
Present.
Other members who are present, would you please announce yourselves?
Chief
Attorney Joe
Deborah
Miller.
Claudia.
Ernestine Beck Fulgham, Village Manager.
Director Darrell Bither, Public Works.
Neva Jenkins, Communications.
Ryan Chalios, Fire Chief.
And that's everyone.
No, we have an attorney present, don't we?
Oh,
Yes,
Joseph.
Attorney. Yeah, I thought I said it, but I guess you guys didn't hear me. Attorney Joe Miller.
And Village Clerk D. Jones.
All right.
Is that all that's here? Okay.
Okay. Pursuant to Governor Pritzker's Executive Order 2020-07, COVID-19 Executive Order Number 5, which suspends the requirement of the Illinois Open Meetings Act, requiring in-person attendance by members of a public body during the duration of the gubernatorial disaster proclamation. The members of the village board will not be physically present for the designated board meeting, but will instead be participating in the meeting through audio access using a virtual meeting platform. Public comments may be submitted in advance of the meeting to Village Clerk D. Jones, DJONES, at university-park-il.com, or by text message to the Village Clerk at 708-473-6201. All comments must be received at 5 p.m. the day before the meeting. In order to give proper consideration to all items on this agenda, the mayor will limit participants in the debate and will close off protracted, repetitive, irreverent, or abusive remarks. Okay, are we gonna, no, we did the Pledge of Allegiance already, so should we do the Pledge of Allegiance as well?
Yes.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
of the
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion for approval of the minutes?
Mr. Mayor, could we have a table on that? I discovered this afternoon I had not sent them to you guys.
So we're gonna
Yes.
ask for a motion to table the minutes?
Yes, so moved, Mayor. Table, I didn't see them, so I'll go with Madam Clerk with what she says.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion is to table the minutes. Trustee Brooks made the motion. Trustee Sonia Bale Jenkins made the second. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Trustee Williams.
Votes aye.
Trustee Brooks.
Votes aye.
Trustee Jenkins Bell.
Votes aye.
Trustee Franklin.
Both sides of the table the minutes.
Trustee Bolden.
Votes aye.
Trustee McMullen.
Both sides.
And Mayor Rudez.
Both sides to table the minutes. Any public comments, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. We received two public comments. The first one I received from Victoria Robinson on Monday, June 22nd at 3:22 p.m. Her comment is, she saw a letter about Amazon building in University Park, and she wants to thank the board for getting them to come to our town when they could have gone anywhere with all that tax money and all those jobs. It's a great thing and she asked, when Will jobs be open to apply for? And when and how can one apply? Her second question is, on her blocks, there are dead trees in the parkway, and she wonders what is being done about it. Who is the public works director? Was he hired? And what credentials are required to hold that job? What engagement experience, because we need employees who can fill potholes, remove dead trees, and all that mess. Please explain. Our second comment came from Sonia Coffey. It was received yesterday, June 22nd at 4:58 p.m. She states, as an African-American business operator, I would like to take a moment to say that upon meeting the mayor and members of the Board of Trustees, that the prospects to grow this great village into an Illinois asset, developing its greatest potential, is more within reach now than ever before. We applaud this administration for embracing bold change and a needed vision well deserved for the residents and business owners of University Park. That's it.
That's it? Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk.
Oh, just one question. Do we know how people could apply for the jobs?
Oh, I let Manager Ernestine or Trustee Bolden, Manager Ernestine and Trustee Bolden.
Yes, I'm glad you asked that question because that was actually going to be a part of my report, but I'll just make it brief. Since February of 2020, we have published and put on the website the desire of the village for persons in University Park that have been physically able to make application to the village under a preferential hiring program. We did some projection and felt that we had a great opportunity at that time to solicit Amazon into the community. So we asked, preempting what may happen, that folk in town make applications. Now that Amazon is here, we consistently persist in any opportunity. The process is they can download the application online. Because of the Illinois Privacy Act, I ask them either they bring their application into the village hall in a concealed envelope of sort and placed on the front, preferential hiring or Ernestine Beck Fulgham. Either way, staff brings that information to me. I then provide them in a listing that will be placed on an Excel sheet. The contractors / Amazon has a director of diversity and inclusion. We talk quite frequently every week. We're emailing backwards and forwards. My problem has been, as much as I continue to advertise, to date, we've only gotten 3 people to apply for positions either in the construction trades or with Amazon within 1 year. Amazon is due for completion in March of 2021. They are looking for us to have persons primarily out of University Park that are interested. But it is very difficult. I don't care how we tell people to come through the window, we solicit and try to go through other folk. It's just like everybody's complaining, but we cannot get anybody to make application. We did get one contractor to come in, a concrete contractor to come in. We're submitting, we're waiting on 2 other docs. We're submitting his information, but he's already been given, the information verbally has been given to the Director of Diversity and Inclusion. But our key is getting folk from University Park to want to come and make application for these jobs. But what's happening, the other communities are on us. And now that we're meeting and going to be developing an MOU and an intergovernmental agreement between the other towns, that in order to get to Amazon or to Clayco, the current contractors, they must come through the village. We want to make sure our people in University Park get the initial options of working. We're also talking about additional training, robotic maintenance training, and some job training, particularly for Amazon. So please, if anybody get an opportunity to review this council meeting, please come into the Village Hall and that includes contractors. But mind you, now in the construction phase is strictly union. So it has to be somebody that can verify that they're connected with any of the unions and that want to work, that's underemployed or unemployed. Please come in and see us, please.
Madam Clerk?
Yeah,
Madam
quick
Clerk,
question.
Mr. Bowden.
Okay, quick question. Do we have that information on our message board or on our website? Or
Yes,
is it
ma'am.
both places?
Yes,
how
and we've had it for quite some time. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I've never seen it, and I have had people ask me, how do they apply for jobs? So
Well,
that's
our director, Miss Neva Jenkins, can explain. It is definitely there. That's
Yes.
how the
Wait a minute,
three
wait a minute.
applications
Okay.
we got came from.
okay. I just
notice.
asked the question.
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins,
Yes.
Trustee Bowden.
Yeah, that was my question as well. How is it being communicated
Right.
throughout the village? Because like Dee said, I haven't seen it anywhere. And is it on our website as well? And how do we get that? See, that's one of our main concerns in Village of University Park is communication to the residents. They don't ever get, they don't get some of the information. And so we need to really come up with a way that we can communicate that'll catch their attention. Maybe we could put up some signs somewhere that's saying Amazon hiring and go to Village Hall, but we need to put something more visible out in the village to let them know, that that we will be hiring. And like Dee said, I think Dee said, is it on the marquee out there as well?
It's
was
not on the marquee.
It's not on the market.
But not now because of the fact that things switch over, different things happen. But it's been on the marquee, it's been on the front page of the website, and it's on the employment page. So right now, I don't think it's in the top 6 things because there's only so many boxes. But once the most important things like phase 4 is important now, when they're there in order of importance, and then it comes back up. But it's been there for a really long time, and we cross-promoted it on our Facebook. Now I can push it some more. But
please. Also, another place I had mentioned to Neva, this was way back when, that board you got down there at the cable station. You said we had the letters was missing.
Yes, ma'am.
That's stable. And you come down Exchange and Western University Parkway there, you can see that because you got a blank board up there with nothing on it. And we had mentioned that maybe we could get we couldn't find the letters. All the letters was gone when you moved into the place. So that's another
Good
idea.
point.
I'm not sure how much the letters cost, but that's another place to put it as well.
Okay.
Good point.
Clerk Jones, Mr. Ellis is on the call now.
Any
Okay.
other questions you all may have, we're open. We'll do whatever it takes to try to get people to apply for the position.
Okay.
Because we got to get the word out, and we don't want Matson and everybody getting their employees, and we don't get anything out of University Park. That always happens. University Park is the last one getting anything. So we really need to be pushing this. And I'm also on the Economic Development Committee, and we can, do some stuff there, maybe, Mayor.
Absolutely.
And they also want to know how we developed this preferential hiring, the contents of it, because they want to duplicate it. That's why I'm so interested in us making sure we get our dibs out first.
Okay.
If anybody would be willing to, I would be willing to put some money up to get some signs to put up in the community, like yards type of signs with the information on it that we could put throughout the community so that they can really see them and become visual. If we could figure out a way that we can do that without spending the
Great idea.
I would be willing to donate money. If anybody would be willing to donate some money, please email me. I have a company that I'm working with for the football program will give us a good price. And let's go ahead and get 50 of those made and put them in
Good
the
idea.
inner
Great.
city of the community. That way we can get our residents this information.
Thank you. Good idea.
Trustee Franklin, if you get me, say the email address so I can get it and the firm can put something on that.
All right, cool.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Great. Great.
I'll get it from Ernestine tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. There was a question that they asked about Public Works. We got a director here. Maybe he want to indicate how they've been working on those trees and whatever.
And what the plan is for the summer, because that's what most residents want to know. What's the Public Works plan for the summer?
He's going to do that probably in his report, and it's a very good report, unless you want him to do it now. I mean,
No, we want to do it just in order like we're supposed to.
okay.
Okay. All right. So item F2A, first, second, and third readings in ordinance of the Village of University Park, Wheeling, Cook County, amending. Oh boy, this thing is really messing up. Amend the title or part of. Let's see if I can reset it.
Do you have it, Mayor? Are you there?
Ordinance of the Village of University Park, Wheeling, Cook Counties, amending chapter Part 14 of the codified ordinance of the Village of University Park, implementing a crime-free housing program. Item 2, F2B, first reading and ordinance providing the annual budget fiscal year commencing on May 1st, 2020 and ending April 30th, 21, the Village of University Park, Cook and Will Counties, Illinois. Item F2C, appointments to the Golf Course Advisory Committee. Item F3, bills payable.
Mayor, may I be recognized? Mayor, can I pull, excuse me, the crime-free housing and the budget?
Okay, you want to do those separately?
Yes, sir.
We'll pull those from the agenda.
From the consent agenda.
The consent agenda.
What do?
Any particular reason why, Trustee Brooks?
I want to discuss actually the crime-free. I guess I can't go into discussion without us, right, Miller, without it being.
We need a motion and a second first.
Well, I guess if you're asking if you can go into closed session about it, no, that's not a
No,
topic for closed
I'm
session.
talking about. Can I start talking about it?
Well, we need a motion. We need a motion and a second first.
Yeah, let's do a motion. You're making a motion to remove those items from the consent agenda, and then we can do each one separately. So that's how I would do it.
We need a second.
There's a motion.
A second.
Motion by Trustee Brooks, second by Bell Jenkins and Trustee Liz Williams at the same time.
Just one.
Trustee Bell Jenkins. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
I don't think we have to have that to pull them.
I mean, people do it different ways. I'm okay if you guys wanted to just do it as that, but that's fine as well. So I've seen it done both ways. I don't have a problem with the request, and since we have a second, and go ahead and doing it. But you only want to, do you want to do both or just that one? So,
yeah, those two.
Okay.
And I think last time we did it, we just did it, and then the
minutes reflected it.
Yeah, everything that was before that, or everything that was left on it. So I guess we would vote on appointments right now.
Yeah.
Am I not mistaken? We would go ahead and move forward on voting for the mayor's special event appointments, if I'm reading it right here.
One
Yeah,
appointment and one to the and golf course advisory.
Right.
So I'm okay with, sorry, I thought I heard someone talking, but maybe I don't.
Yeah, you did.
That's fine. The minutes to reflect that Trustee Brooks requested items F2A and 2B removed from the consent agenda. And then you guys can just do a motion. Essentially, we're just doing a motion on the golf advisory committee, but that is the consent agenda.
Right.
Okay. So we're gonna vote on the appointments. Bills payable.
Wait, we need to finish the appointments.
Okay.
It's part of the consent agenda, so someone can just make a motion to approve it, and it'll be because I think the list of the people were on the packet. Thought I saw that.
Yes.
Is there a motion?
So we're making, I'm like, Trustee Franklin, what are we making a motion on to?
Approve the appointment to the golf course advisory and the one appointment to the mayor's office of special events.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, F2C.
Yeah, I got it. I didn't understand what he said we were doing. I got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, actually the motion is to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Is there a motion?
That's my question. Yeah.
The consent agenda as amended.
Right.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, that's correct. It's just that it's only one item, so that's why I said it that way.
Right.
So move.
Second.
Trustee Bolden made the motion.
Trustee Bolden.
She did.
I was trying to make the motion, but I wanted to make sure what I was making it on. So yeah,
Oh,
you're
okay.
right, Dean.
Okay.
Right.
Trustee Bolden make the motion. Trustee Brooks second. Roll call. Madam Clerk.
Trustee Williams. Trustee Williams.
Votes aye.
Trustee Brooks.
Votes aye.
Trustee Jenkins Bell.
Votes aye.
Trustee Bolden.
Votes aye.
Trustee Franklin.
Votes aye.
Trustee McMullen.
Votes aye.
And Mayor Rudez.
Vote aye.
Mr. Mayor, just for the record, will you be reading the names of the people?
Yes, Madam Clerk. Would you mind reading them? Because I'm having problems on this computer. It's all just, it didn't come out right. And I didn't print one. I didn't print a copy out.
Okay.
Stick to the old-fashioned way. Paper, baby.
That's it.
Too costly. And you could never go paperless.
I need a copy.
Come on, Madam Clerk.
If you could mooch her. F2C, appointments to the Golf Club Advisory and Mayor's Office of Special Events Committee. With the concurrence of the Board of Trustees, Mayor Rudez will be making the following appointments to the Golf Club Advisory Committee. Terms to expire December 21st, 2022 or 2023. Appointed is David Brookins to a full 3-year term, Ted Connors to a full 3-year term, Dorothy D. Jones to a full 3-year term, James Bell, a full 3-year term, Trustee Elizabeth Williams, 2-year term, Mayor's Office of Special Events as an associate member, Naomi Brookins.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. You know, we'll get this consent agenda down, Pat, and we'll be moving very smooth.
Okay.
Okay.
I can go right into F2A, Mayor.
Yes,
What
let's
I
go
would
into
prefer,
the crime housing. And let me just give you a little why I put this on there without it going to the cow, trustees.
Okay.
There has been a recent rash of shootings in our town at the wrong time. So absolutely, anytime there's the wrong time of the day. But these recent shootings have been happening at 2:00 in the afternoon on Saturday and Sunday afternoon. Come to find out, there are so many new residents moving into town that landlords are just getting their money and the people are moving in, and we have no accountability for actually who's moving into these doggone houses. So after looking at what was proposed a couple of years ago about the crime-free ordinance, I've asked the clerk to do a little research. We checked with other communities because what I felt that we needed was a little more teeth in ours to ensure that there's an opportunity for us to know who the landlord is, who the people are who are living in the house, and it gives us accountability. So in the ordinance that you will see that there's an opportunity for true enforcement with what we have currently. So if there's a nuisance that the police is called X amount of times to a certain residence, it violates our crime-free ordinance. And it gives us the opportunity to say, well, you've been in violation of this, you've been here, boom, boom, boom. Now we're gonna ask you to move because we have that authority to evict them after 30 days. So and it's very important right now because we cannot go into summertime with not knowing who's the landlord, where all of these tenants come from, because people have to know certain things we do in University Park and certain things we do not do. And with this crime-free housing thing, it gives us the opportunity to have immediate enforcement.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, Mayor, I did see that Mr. Miller, was this a little change to what we have been looking at or talking about for 2 years? I thought I'm seeing some little different things in here.
There was no change.
I don't know what you had 2 years ago. Let me just add, so what the mayor is saying is correct, and we've seen them in communities. They'll do the crime-free housing, especially if you have, let's say a drug house, where there's been a lot of, someone will just lease a landlord to just lease something to someone, and it's turned into a drug house, and the landlord has or has plenty of notice of that there's criminal activities going on, and nothing happens. So I can't speak to what you guys had 2 years ago, but that's the type, kind of as the mayor has talked about, when the landlord has reason to know or does know that there's criminal activities, it kind of puts some teeth in their ability to continue to operate as a landlord within the village.
Chief Wilson, do you have this in front of you? I wanted your input tonight because I'm looking here, and from the guys in Park Forest, I think in fact one of them I work with now, he's the chief if I'm not mistaken. I meant to give him a call and ask, does this specifically would have to divide into a unit like I know most of them do with community, like we had to divide into a community policing unit and so forth with manpower? Could you elaborate a little bit? That was from a little bit from what I had talked to him almost 2 years ago, and I was trying to, and just so everyone would know, when Trustee Oscar Brown, former Trustee Oscar Brown, introduced this to the board, I thought it was a great idea at the time, so that everyone here knows what the reason why it was tabled. One is that a Trustee Oscar Brown never got a chance to finish it, but when he did come, it was a situation where it was a question about the manpower, the manpower and the funds to get it up and going, because I believe it consists of training and so forth. And so I believe at the time, my memory sometime age is catching up with me, but I think I directed to you, Chief, that some of those things that Mayor Rudez is talking about, that we were trying to get the officers to execute certain ordinances that were already on the book until we got the funding for the crime-free housing. Yes,
Brooks,
sir.
let me interrupt you for a second. We did not have the funds proper funds to run the crime-free housing, period. We didn't have the funds to do it, so we didn't.
Okay.
We didn't, that's what happened.
That's what it was? Okay.
Yeah.
Madam Clerk, give me a second, Madam Clerk.
Well, just so I did send to the attorney, and I think he put them in Dropbox to the board, the minutes of the 2 times that this item came up in both 2018 and 2019 to see what it was that the board was not comfortable with. And I think that it has a lot to do with meetings, setting up a quasi-committee to meet with the landlords of rental units and the dwellings. Okay.
Right.
That's that was the holdup, because for the most part, they were looking to make sure that the homeowners understood, the property owners understood their responsibilities and their financial responsibilities. And at the same time, there was a concern about the manpower of enforcing this. And that's why both the police department and code enforcement are much involved in this process. But those were, and if you guys need me to resend you the minutes, if you did not read them, that were sent last week in your Dropbox, so you could be aware of, because there have been no changes to this document since the last time it went before the committee of the whole. It never went to the board for action. It never got out of the committee of the whole.
And let me just say this to all the trustees. Listen, I don't know what the heck happened 17, but I know right now shootings are rampant. Not just the Chicago problem; they are all. So manpower or not, but what thing that is to us, we know who the landlord is, we know who the tenant is, and God forbid that we have to deal with an innocent victim or child being shot by some person that's unknown living in a place that we have no accountability for or no tracing for. So I think it's time now for us to take action and be proactive. We'll work out that manpower issue, but right now the registration part, the code enforcement, and the police department. So we would have full accountability if John Doe living at 755 and John Doe is a known shooter. Well, John Doe, because we don't tolerate that nonsense in this village. And it is our job to do the best we can to make sure that every resident, business is safe in this doggone community. And that's the intention of the legislation. Because we have nothing on the books. Open up the door for the crooks. And the hell with them crooks. We want this to be a nice community, college town, and we're moving forward. So that's why it's on there. And if we can make amendments down the line, let's get something done right. Because people just can't let anybody coming out their down town and do what the hell they want to do. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. That crap is over.
Trustee, Chief Wilson, I wanted to get your input on the, did you read it? Sound like somebody
to mute their mic.
It sounds like I'm listening to GCI or something. Hello?
Everybody should stay muted. If you're not talking, you should stay muted. Everybody.
Okay, okay. Or is that me?
I think you, Trustee.
That's you, man. You want me to talk for you? I know what you're about to say. Now, Chief Wilson, if you could weigh in, I really want to hear Chief Wilson's thoughts as well.
Okay. Can you hear me now? How do I sound? Okay. All right. Go ahead, Chief.
Okay. I do know back in, I believe it was either 2008 or 2009, I'm actually certified in the crime-free housing. You guys had, or the board at the time, had actually approved crime-free housing. They just never funded it. But they did approve the ordinance, and we do have it on the books from way back when. That was why I was sent to class for that. Currently, I think it's a great program. And as you say, all the surrounding communities do have it. They also have the manpower to fund it because it is run through the police department, through certified police officers for that. If we got that up and going, then that would be good. It's just we don't have anybody to personally dedicate, or to dedicate to this task. Now, can it be done by each individual officer? Probably. We could probably do that. It's just not going to run at peak perfection with that. Then as far, it would give us some more with it, but there's a lot of logistics that go along with running this program. Having the socials, with the landlords, having them sign and fill out all the paperwork and so forth. They have actually forms and stuff for this through this program that they have. Having the signage to put up and so forth, having someone keep up with all of that. For example, like with Park Forest, with Chief Menino, the reason why theirs runs, one of the reasons why theirs runs so efficiently and smoothly is because they have their own housing authority, okay, right in Park Forest. They also have 70 officers, so that helps. So not that it can't be done, I just don't want to commit to it and without you guys having full knowledge that it may be kind of rocky with that. Now, having the ordinance on the books, each individual officer, I'm sure we could tailor it some kind of way where they could charge if in the event that something does come up, but that's not how the program is designed to run, if that helps.
That's very helpful.
Yeah. Mayor, I was going to say, I'm with the mayor. Debbie, Chief, what can we do? I'm with the mayor on this one. He probably hearing, and probably the trustees, you're probably hearing the same thing. We have renters and decent houses, but the activity is unacceptable. If you are a homeowner paying these taxes and you got activity, and when I'm talking about activity, we all know what that activity is. Kids, drug dealing, loud music, you name it, vandalism. And here it is, you're paying taxes anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000, and you have everyone else, disrupting. I mean, what can we do? Because at this point, I'm beginning to feel like the mayor, as far as we have to do something in reference to those who live here, but they're not invested here. Especially, I used to see it all the time. You have Section 8 where the boyfriend moves in with the girlfriend, and the boyfriend is nothing but trouble. And you know how it is, Chief. You keep coming to the house, and then maybe about a year or so later, you either have a violent domestic or some young black kid, some type of shooting because of an innocent. Is there anything on the books, that we have right now, or how can we tailor this? Because I know how many officers do you have now? I guess that's the question.
14.
Compared to the 21 when I was when I was chairman of the Police and Fire Commission.
Correct.
So that's a great point, and very, very well taken. I'm definitely 110% with this. If I can just offer the perspective of someone who grew up here and have watched the changes, which helps me easily identify the fact that we have to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. As Chief said, I believe it'll be baby steps in the right direction that can grow into full-blown situation where we can run it efficiently. But I believe it's urgent that we begin to hold these landlords accountable. I don't see no other option. when we talk about manpower, when we talk about the finances that are required, we have to keep in mind that this is actually a proactive approach that can lessen things on the back end. Because if we're putting things in place proactively to remove some of the citizens that are not wanted in the community, then we're reducing the amount of calls that the police have to have on the back end. So it is a proactive approach. It's the difference between restorative justice and restorative practice. It's a restorative practice. So I think this is something that I'm going to really ask the board to support. If you can really just understand the shootings are becoming, the shootings in the activity
more often.
It's becoming more often.
Mm-hmm.
If you're active and move around in the community like I do, you can identify 3 to 4 to 5 houses that you know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's no secret.
Right.
I was
and currently in that arsenal as well, just like with the Section 8, if they violate crimes or I'm sorry, violate statutes or ordinances by committing crimes and so forth, if you report them, then they are supposed to revoke those privileges, you know, for through those programs and so forth. We also have excessive use of our services and so forth. But a lot of these things, the penalties need to be updated. And like I say, it's not a given because it's not within our community, you know, even the processes that we use through like Section 8 and so forth. We can report them, but then we have to wait for them to respond and act. Yeah. So I can see where that could be helpful. Like I said, I think it's a great program overall. You know, I just I'm a bit hesitant because of our manpower. I just don't want to fail with it. But if we take baby steps.
Madam Clerk, before I recognize you, I want to make one comment there, Trustee McMullen and you. But let me just say one thing, and I hate to bring this up. And Madam Clerk, just hold tight for a minute, because let me tell you something that I want nobody on this board or in this town to experience what gunshots do to a damn person. And it personally affects me and Madam Clerk because she lost her grandson to violence of some stupid person out there with a gun. My son was shot 10 damn times by some stupid fool out there wielding a gun. So we don't want that to happen to anybody in this doggone town. We don't want an innocent kid riding down the bicycle in the prime of their life getting hit by straight gunfire by a damn person that shouldn't be here from the start. And I'm sorry, because I'm passionate about this violence. And to see our young people killing each other, we got enough crap against us. We got water crisis. We got COVID-19. We got racial injustice. We're not going to have that crap in University Park. That's just enough of that stuff.
That's I totally agree. And if we can do something like Deborah said, proactive, Donzel Franklin said, Tutu said, I totally agree. If we can do something proactive, because if we don't want what he just described about him and the clerk, if we can prevent it, then let's go for it. I mean, if I don't know what we can do to help Chief more, you all can figure out the manager and Trustee Brooks. But we definitely need to do something with this ordinance. I'm totally for it, as a matter of fact.
And some of the people not going to even come into town because if they find out you got to register with code enforcement in the police department, they don't.
Yeah,
they don't.
Right.
Trustee McMullen.
Unmute.
Go ahead, Trustee. You got to unmute yourself.
Then mine is kind of short. Can I just go?
Well, ladies are first. Ladies are first. Go ahead.
Okay, mine was simply that in addition to looking at this, and hopefully we can get it on the books, I think we also should start looking at updating our fair housing ordinance, because I think they work in conjunction with each other. If we look at it and not to discriminate, but to update our ordinances and have specific guidelines in our fair housing ordinance, I think they could run hand in cheek.
Okay, then. You know, I can understand the passion that you have for the whole bill, and I can really understand how you feel about it. because we talked about it personally, and it's very devastating for a family. But when this was brought up, we all considered the manpower involved. We don't want to set up the chief right now for failure, but we want to be able to address the current landlords. And do we do it retroactively? Do we go back and do we have them sign an agreement to go with this, or do we just start with the new landlords? See, we have a lot to consider, and I wouldn't mind doing it, but do you have the manpower to initiate this whole thing? Who's going to do it? But who's going to do it? That was a problem before. Who's going to do it? Do we have the money to go into a program like that to make it have teeth? We have to really consider that. I don't mind doing it. I don't mind doing that at all. Even when Oscar brought it up, the past trustee brought it up. We all considered the monetary aspect of it and the manpower. That's the thing, to do it effectively. I know that Park Forest have 70 officers, and they have the people to do it, but do we have the people to do it and do it effectively? And so how would it be started? With the regular landlords that are established now, to go back to do some paperwork? So who's going to do it?
I think it will be moving forward.
I'm sorry, Madam Clerk. I was just going to say it's going to be moving forward, but it would apply to, so if say a current landlord has a lease and that lease is renewed, then it gets, the way I read it is it gets applied moving forward. So even your current landlords who have tenants, as the leases get renewed, it would apply to that. Now, so theoretically, you know, the funding question, that's more of a question for you guys as far as you know, with the village manager and your finance department in regards to coming up with funding.
We need the funding and we need the body. That's realistic. Yeah. We need the funding and we need the bodies.
Well, you know what? Where there's a will, there's a way. We want to protect the integrity of our residents. And I understand the funding, but one of the main things we grab about the we'll get registration. We'll know who the landlord is. We'll know who the tenant is.
Okay.
So that's one good thing. So you hate to have someone hurt and say, well, oh boy, they're right there. But damn, we don't even know who that is because they're gone. So we have some kind of accountability for them. And as the trustee Franklin said, we'll ease into the thing, you know. But right now, we have no record, no activity. We don't know who's who. Landlord out to whoever, and it could be a safe house, a stash house.
Okay. So, there are some. I'm sorry.
Can I make a comment?
Go ahead. Dr. Trustee Franklin, since you already started.
I was just gonna say there are some initial steps that can be taken that don't require a whole bunch of funding. I also want to say all the things that we talk about and all the projects that we have to fund, this is something that's involving the lives of our citizens and ourselves and our children in this community. So we have to be creative and figure out a way. I don't think this is something we could put on the back burner. I believe that we're in the first reading of our budget. This needs to be prioritized. We need to figure out how we can do this because people are dying. I'm the only one on the call that has 6 and 7-year-old kids in the community. This hit me a little different. I was on the phone with Chief one night when they were shooting. I'm out there with the police trying to find the gun at 10:30 at night, helping the police. Here's a solution. All these strong Black men in our community, if it was a way that we could come together and help to help in these different situations, that's how we save our community. We don't just put it all on the police department. And that's the big problem. Involved. Everybody wants to complain, but it's all these strong Black men in this community. And I've been calling them out since my first meeting. If we could come together, we can help police our own community. So it doesn't so it's not all on the finances and it's not all on the police department. But that's a place we have to get to. But I don't think this is something that we can put on the back burner. I don't think this is something that we can say we don't need to move forward on it because of this. Because we just got out. We've been talking about how we're gonna fund different things. This is something that's involving life. This is life or death situation. This is getting serious in this village. It's getting serious in the south suburbs. and it's getting serious in our village. We're gonna start losing lives if we don't really put some things in place and start holding people accountable. So I feel your frustration and passion and anger, Mayor Rudez, and I'm scared for my children. I'm scared for myself. So I think this is something that we have to move forward. And once again, I'm calling out the strong Black men in the community. We have to come together and figure out a way. We don't just let people come into our community just take it over. That's foolish, and that's what we letting happen. And we got to move past that, man.
That's it. And I remember that shit at your place.
Excuse me. Okay.
Ma'am.
Madam Clerk, then Manager Ernestine. Trustee, did you have something too?
I think Trustee Franklin was listening through my thoughts, but I feel that we can't enforce something until we have it on the books.
Right.
We work out the kinks until we have it on the books and see what the kinks are. And we might want to consider getting back our neighborhood watch program.
We'll get it back. Blah, 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 blah.
Right, so there are ways I think that we can make this work and get participation, but we first gotta get it on the books, even if we have to come back later and amend some portions of it to make it fit what we need. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, because we're constantly working on bringing more officers on the street. Before you know, we're gonna have an ESDA unit freeing up some of our officers. And you're absolutely right, because when they had that unfortunate shooting, the people cut through Trustee Franklin's yard and left the gun in his doggone yard. The stray bullet could have went into the doggone house and hurt one of his doggone kids. He might have his young kids, and I got young grandkids at the same age, and my future, they're valuable. Whether it's your kid, your granddaughter, somebody else, all these children in our community mean a lot to me. And they mean a lot to you all. And to make sure that we put things in place, as you said, we don't have everything the way we want to, but to take the initial step right now, put it on the books, and know that we have something in place. Because I'm a little bit older now, but when Trustee Franklin would call us, that's the problem. Hey, we one of them guys that go out there. We know them guys on them streets. We have relationships and we can talk to them and say, hey, this is the wrong path. But right now, we're not going to tolerate that nonsense. We don't want to lose another person by a random act of violence in this community.
Go ahead.
Mayor,
I'm ask for a vote on it when you guys finish your conversation.
could this was the first time that I saw this actual crime-free housing ordinances when it was included as a part of this. There are some things that could have been made a part of that. For example, all housing that are vacant within 1 calendar year. For all vacant housing, there are ordinances in other communities that they've shared. It's called a vacant housing ordinance that they pay annually to the municipality a fee, $500 to $1,000 annually for the houses that are vacant. And if they don't pay that, then the village has a right of lienship. In other words, we place the lien on the property for not registering the vacancy of the housing. In addition to that, there's some other kinds of things involved too, as you were talking, landlord registration. I have some issue with transfer stamp costs. There are a lot of things that we all have been talking about that have been out there, and staff in the departments are going to move forward on that. We have a meeting coming up on July the 7th, a capital improvement project meetings that all department heads have been invited to, and they will be there. There are a lot of ideas that each of the department heads are experiences, and I'm questioning some of this, and they're saying, oh yeah, we've been trying to do this for years. We're going to utilize these department heads and providing responses and recommendations for some of these changes. But this crime-free housing bill, I think had it have been, we could have known about it maybe today. And this is from my perspective as being a village manager. Had I have known about it today and I saw it, I said, oh, well, this could be changed. Oh, well, maybe we can incorporate this in code enforcement. We got another person, code enforcement, we're looking to come on board. Maybe that's something we may look at. And then we have, I'm a HUD certified housing counselor. You have the chief over here that has been, everybody in these positions they haven't been tapped on how we can fill this in. And you talk about you need somebody extra in the police department. Maybe it could be lessened over here. It could be a collaboration between an independent position that's specifically geared towards enforcing this as one of their job responsibility, and somehow coordinate with the police department to do sanction and or follow up as though they get an emergency call or call on an emergency, whatever. It could have been some ways we can probably work this out, but the funding is a serious issue, and that's something we're trying to work out. There are current pending vacancies in the police department, some vacancies coming up in the police department. So there's some issues that we need to look at that. We're looking at code enforcement. There's some ordinance on the books.
Okay, wait a minute. Manager, not meaning to cut you off because we got this thing.
Okay,
So
but I'm telling you.
Because I'm not going to ask the board.
But I'm sure they understand what I'm saying.
Always come back and amend it to strengthen it up. But that's
okay.
Mayor,
Mr. Mayor, before we move forward, could we get a motion and a second to even have this discussion?
Can I have a motion?
Motion, Mayor.
A second.
Mayor.
Who's the second?
Second.
Oh, I thought I heard Curtis.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mayor. I'm in no way. Let's be clear. No one has fought the war that I fought until you worked Harvey for 10 years. No one knows what it feels like when you worked with a kid and you got to go out to do his homicide investigation. No one knows like I do. So I can feel the pain of all you guys, everyone. But I also know the reality of wearing or being behind a badge. And the question I have, I guess we're going to start with, we can solve this very quickly because Madam Clerk, you did say this was on the books before?
I didn't. Chief Wilson said
Chief
it.
Wilson? Okay.
So I cannot find a crime-free ordinance that was passed. We've had several that deal with crime and reporting crime, but I've searched everything and I have not found before I came forward twice.
Okay.
But it never made it up for a vote. So we don't have this that I'm aware of.
On the books. Okay. Chief, in reference to your officers, before we go, I understand, and I'm looking at the language, especially when it's dealing with quasi arrest. Is this something that we can use, say, for instance, as a quasi disorderly conduct, or is this more extended?
Well, it's more extended because you're actually going to be removing someone from their residence. We're removing them from the village if they violate certain ordinances and or statutes. So that gives us it's a lot stronger than that, and it goes a lot further. That's why everything has to be done legally, and the paperwork has to be completed ahead of time, and it has to be done through the courts and through the with the assistance through Joliet with the housing authority, in order for it to work right, for us to be able to evict someone out of there. Now, a lot of the, believe it or not, the homeowners associations, the HOAs, they can actually put some of that stuff in their bylaws and so forth as well. They actually have more because they don't have to worry about violating this when they have people come in. But if we work with them, like I say, we can do it. It's just going to be kind of tailored and piecemeal together. If you guys can work with us on that, then I agree something needs to be done. I totally agree.
Madam Village Manager, and I'm looking here, will we be able to give, because I'm looking here, it's going to require the police and code enforcement. Will we be able to, because we're already working at a minimum. What can we do that, should this pass tonight, that we can say that we actually can execute? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, Chief, 14 officers, which that is just way too low in the first place. And nobody knows what it feels like for you to be called over. And those guys are being called over. It's bad enough the vehicles they in, some of them don't even have air conditioning. But we're already asking them to do more. And I agree with Trustee Franklin. Harvey at least had programs in place. They did. And we gotta put something in place. And the mayor is correct. At some point you kind of get tired of what's happening, but we gotta have something in place. My concern is if I say yes, what is it that you as the village manager, we can make sure that this can work if Chief Wilson will be able to use this tonight?
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you the truth. If you approved it tonight, don't expect us to immediately implement it. There are going to be some things we've got to get in place. And it's sounding as though you all are expecting this to be passed tonight. Immediately we'll be able to make it effective. We cannot do that. There are going to have to be some legal things put in place. There are going to have to be some people, employees assigned, in addition to whatever, if we decide to pull somebody in, they're going to have to be doing this. They're going to have to be familiar with particular ordinances that affects the carrying out of this function. They're going to have to also be attributed and have some training. I don't care. Things have just changed. So they're going to have to do all of this. We put this in place. Please don't think next week you're going to have somebody to do that. You do not even have anybody at this point juncture right now in the police department to totally take this over. You're going to have to consider putting somebody there in addition to somebody in code enforcement. And it's going to have to be some meetings that's going to have to take place between the...
Mayor, that's a problem. Excuse me, may I be recognized? That's a problem we had before.
Find a way to make it happen. I know it's not going to go right away, but we got to start somewhere. Find a way to make it happen. Trustee
We're going to, but you asked my opinion. I'm telling you my opinion. And professionally, this is what I'm telling you.
That was a problem we ran into at first. We didn't have the power, the human power to get this thing off the ground, and that's why we just left it like that. But I can see that we can do something about it now, but we still have to be cognizant of the fact that we need the bodies and the time. That's realistic.
I'm ready to take a vote on it, and the vote falls on how it falls. The whole goal is to ensure that there's a start of getting something on the doggone books. We know what we need to get done, so I'm just asking for this.
Because the force is already taxed. The force is taxed right now.
Yeah.
I know that. Sure.
Yep.
So if we put it in place tonight, we can't expect it to have any teeth right now.
Well, it doesn't start immediately. I mean, but there has to be a start somewhere. So we need to put something in place to let the residents know. This is summertime, and with COVID-19, there are going to be more and more people hosting events at their homes. It's going to be an influx of people that we've never seen before who gives less than a hoot about the rules of some urban community. So to fail the residents would be not giving us a start. And I know it's like a
talk to you tomorrow. I got one option.
It's like it's a work in progress.
Right. I hear you say, Mayor, and I hear you say crime-free and housing. We do know the crime-free housing is for renters. Am I correct? Is this what I'm reading?
Yeah.
It's for both.
Right. So this is about the renters. Let's get that clear, that this is about the renters and
landlord, tenants, and rentals.
Right. So I don't want anyone thinking like,
No,
and
no.
someone else's house. That's
Well, thanks for the clarity.
right.
These are the rental properties owned by a company or landlord.
Well, let me say something. It's a little bit for both, okay? It does, you know, the landlords are the ones who are going to be enrolling in the classes, and they're the inspections are going to be they're the ones paying the fees and everything. So it will apply to your renters, but it's also to make sure that your landlords are making sure that they have their things in order as well, because they're the ones who are doing the application. So it's not, it works against renters because when you find a landlord because they're putting in someone who they know is up to no good, it keeps the renters that you don't want in the village out, but the landlords are going to be paying the cost. They're the ones who are going to be fined as well. So just be aware that it's not strictly a renters thing. The idea behind these ordinances is to apply across the board, because if your landlord knows that he's going to be fined, or there's going to be he's going to have ordinance violations for leasing out to people he should know, that, or essentially running a drug house, the hope is that they're not going to do that. Then also those, because they're going to be fined for that, those people who they know are engaged in that business, and you know, depending on who you ask, some of you guys are former police officers. I think you know that sometimes the landlords know that these people are paying that money that they're paying are up to no good. So I don't want you guys to think this is only something against renters. This will apply to landlords as well.
Right, and the landlords also know too that they get that check regardless when they put that slum in theirs. That's why they're slum. So a lot of them sign it unless they're made to sign it.
Well,
so,
let me ask this, and then I'm going to
Trustee Bell had her hand raised.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah.
Your mute is on.
Unmute yourself.
I like everything that Coach Tutu Franklin, trustee, said. It makes a lot of sense that we have to do something now. We are looking at our budget. We're looking at what's coming up. We got to figure out how to trim the fat to support this program to secure our community. But the question that I'm wondering about, and I know this may sound crazy, is that we do have apartment complexes here as well that have tenants. So how would that cover them as well?
It specifically addresses them.
Just what is, pardon me?
Yeah, it was geared toward apartment dwelling.
Oh, just apartment dwelling
concept.
Okay.
Looking at.
Okay.
And here's something to think about. Here's something to think about, everyone. As a legislator, what is a better solution that we can provide to reduce crime in our community right now?
Pass this ordinance.
What is any other solution that we can bring to the table for our residents to reduce crime in our community?
Passing the ordinance and hiring more officers.
More police.
More police. Do what we're supposed to do.
More police.
More police.
Yeah.
More
police. Absolutely.
We need it.
And just like bringing in more police, it's baby steps.
Correct.
That's something that we have to do.
I agree.
Same scenario.
We talked about this way back when we had the retreat. I totally agree. I just want to.
Both solutions are baby steps.
Right.
But in both scenarios, we have to take the initiative to start the process.
Yes, we do.
To start the process, right. You got to make the first step.
Last question would be to Mrs. E, and then I'm a yield, Mayor. Miss E, how long will this be before we can, or something can be implemented? Like, meaning that, say hypothetically, you pass this, when is the fastest, or because I think it's some training that has to be done, legalities. What is the soonest that this can happen, so we know?
Messing me up because it's going down, but it's not.
There's a process. I have an option that I'm going to talk to the chief about that I just mentioned earlier to her. We're going to talk about it tomorrow, but whoever it is, they have to go through the training. If it is an existing police officer, that police officer, even though they're, as you know, sanctioned for a police officer, they still have to go through the training that will allow them to do this particular job. So that's the other, the new police officer, if they were coming forth, then has to be either gotten in school or a lateral police officer. So we've been talking about those options, but like I said, you're trying to answer your question, how soon that a person can come on, it depends on the length of the training. Depend on the length of the training and the selection process if it's going to be somebody in-house. I think that it would be in our best interest to consider somebody in-house versus this new person that's going to come along. They have to go through the school whenever it becomes available. You know, now COVID, they had those few officers open, then they shut the door. I mean, positions open for classes. I don't know if that's going to open back up, if we have to go back on a waiting list, or if we're going to do laterals or whatever. But I'm going to talk about that tomorrow with the chief. We'll go on, but that involves one of these options. But to answer your question, if you want me to give you, we got to talk about this first, and I don't want to give you something, you'll come back and tell me, but you told me I want to talk to her tomorrow so we can get this straight, so we can tell you some specifics.
Well,
but pass the ordinance. There's a lot of ordinance on the book that aren't actually implemented, but if this is one ordinance on the book that you all are going to look that's to be implemented, it's going to give us the innate ability to move forward in the police department to get what we have to get done.
Okay, Mayor, I get to yield my time here, but I just want to say that that the problem that I have is that Chief Wilson, bodies in cars. We sit up here, we pass these things. We pass a truck enforcement. And guess what? We don't see no revenue, truck's still rolling. And this was before Chief Wilson. We're talking about way back, because I personally hired a former state trooper. And it's just, I just hope that when we put something like this on the books, that something come out of it, because I think, like, I'm beginning to feel like a lot of residents, we always doing something and saying yes to something and never follow through. And one example is truck enforcement.
We talked about that a little while ago, too. With the chief, we talked about that.
All right, let's go on. Madam Clerk.
I was simply going to say, let your vote be your voice.
Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Trustee Williams.
Both sides.
Trustee Williams.
Okay, we got to start somewhere. I said the both sides.
Trustee Brooks.
For the sake of my residents, despite any finances, for the start, I vote side, Madam Clerk.
Trustee Jenkins Bell.
Both side.
Trustee Franklin.
Both sides to reduce crime.
Trustee Bolden.
Both side.
Trustee McMullen.
We need bodies and we need finances. Both sides.
Mayor Rudez.
Both sides. And I just like to thank the board.
Mr. Mayor, that's ordinance 2020-07. Approved unanimously.
Okay. Next item.
Budget.
Oh, unmute yourself, village manager. Unmute yourself.
May I be recognized, Mayor? I want to make an initial comment.
Madam.
It's not.
Oh, you got to vote on it first. Sorry.
Madam, make a motion. Let's make a motion, and then we can have our discussion.
Yes, sorry.
We need a motion.
Is there a motion?
So, can you hear me, Mayor? So moved.
Yes.
Okay,
Roll
so moved.
Brooks.
Second.
Second by Trustee Bolden. Roll call.
Now we're gonna, now we want your discussion.
All right, for discussion.
Lord.
May I?
Yes.
Okay. This budget was presented by each department head. Finance department and Ms. Cecilia Kelly and myself were involved in every conference meeting with the department head, where they explicitly explained and they justified their budgets. We did not make any comments on yay, nay, or whatever. The kinds of questions that were asked may have related to why or this, but we did not make any negative comment at all. We wanted to present each department head's budget as a part of this summary budget. The prior finance committee was asking for real numbers. And after, this is my first year actually of starting to develop the budget, and I realized that the budget was not developed based on real numbers. These are actual real numbers. May you all have known things subconsciously or not. The budget did not involve itself as a real numbers budget. The numbers that are in here are actual dollars, real dollars, that the village must pay, the village is in debt for, the village, and other kinds of items. In addition to that, we incorporated the increases that were required by union budgets, and the village had sanctioned and signed on to. There are some current union negotiations we're in fact involved in. So most of those, in fact, all of them at this point have not totally been completed. There's some negotiations, but this budget reflects the increases as was involved in the subsequent year after last year. So we got that increase. We have other increases that had to do with uniform and or provisional allowances, insurance costs. All those kinds of numbers were the only kinds of dollars that added to the budgets that were submitted by the department. So this first reading is a real numbers budget with the current deficit as is. So we have the first, second, and third reading that I want you all to look at the real numbers and be very honest with yourself and what the comments you're making on to deal with the reality. And the other thing, Mayor Board, is there are three things that are that's going to affect the bottom line of this budget. And one is the reduced dollars that we're receiving from the states on its tax levy receipt, okay? Meaning that we are not getting the dollars that we did last year because of COVID-19, even though the governor has extended the payment of the real estate taxes to later dates. In some instances, some people have not paid those taxes. And as you know about tax collections, it's always done resulting from a prior year. So that means 2019 is due in 2020. So if we don't get that, now we got that expanded. So we got to take in consideration there. We also need to take in consideration that we were told, the municipalities in the state of Illinois was told that we were going to get a 50% increase of motor fuel tax dollars. Well, they had no idea that COVID-19 would be here. So there's a question as to whether or not we're going to get our level at the last year dollars, and that's what they're attempting to do, or will we get a reduction of a percentage of last year's dollars? So all those kinds of things are affecting our bottom line of receipt. So we're going through the phases. Hopefully at the end of the second phase, of this reading process, we'll be able to say to everybody, guys, these are the real dollar. Now, either you want to go in the deficit year knowing that you're going to come back to the table again in December 1 through April 20th, letting history repeat itself by the same thing, utilizing TIF dollars. So we're trying to get away with that, get away from that, because we have yet to pay back the $1.9 million that we borrowed for the 1920. So keep all of that in mind. You have your chance to voice your opinion on anything. Everything is an open book today. First reading, it's open book.
Am I next?
Wrong and go. Oh.
Okay.
Say what you gotta say.
Okay. Well, first of all, Madam Village Manager, the MFT funds, are they doing this only because I mean, the gas and everything, nothing really reduced for the.
Oh, yes.
It did?
Yeah,
it did?
Because a lot of folk did not drive during the period. So the motor fuel tax, of course, comes from the taxes, a percent of the taxes from motor fuel.
Okay.
And there were a lot of people that didn't drive, seriously,
So
a lot of people. And
okay.
it reduced substantially the amount, and the distribution process is based on your population and other kinds of things. So there's a substantial reduction. We don't know what or how we're going to get. But as I mentioned to you all before, I had a very thorough conversation with Representative DeLuca about that. So we just got to be prepared when we get our news.
Okay. If the trustees can turn to the very first page, general fund revenues, general fund expenditures. Now, I know last year I kicked and fuss a little bit. Probably a lot. And I'm looking here at expenditures, actually the revenue. How are we generating this revenue? I want to read it off here. 2020 was the budget that we had just passed, if I'm not mistaken. 11.9 million was supposed to be the revenue, and 11.8 was supposed to be the expenditure. Now, the problem I have is that in the budget that we have here for the proposal, we're going up even further. 12.3 million in revenue, but we're spending 15.9. That's almost 16 million in this town that we spend it. Something is off with the numbers here. And I kind of wrote down some things I don't think is geared towards one thing, but I think that we're jumping from quite a bit that when we came in to office, Liz Williams and Curtis McMullen came in, our revenue was at 8.8 and our general fund was at 8.1. Now that's about right, because I always keep bringing up how Mayor Rudez in the previous board, when we came in, they did expect a 1.5 million deficit each year, but it was only supposed to last for 3 years. 3 years. I'm trying to figure out where are we going here, where is the revenue coming in? Because the more I see, it says other revenue. Maybe you can help me, Madam Village Manager. I'm trying to see, I see almost $1 million increase in other revenue, but then I see a decrease of 134,000 in real estate tax.
Okay, let me tell you, when I started my conversation, and I'll explain that very clear, it was budgets that were submitted. It doesn't mean the budget we're going to accept. It's the budgets that were submitted. I didn't change anything, but in this, you have to, as a municipality, account for every dollar you got, regardless of the regulation on expenditures. The $1 million that you see here is the $1 million in impact fee. We had to include it, but as we get down the line, you see it put in and it's taken out. Okay, it has to be put in because of the fact that we're receiving, even though it's
That's 450. Did I
pardon
see?
me?
Is that the 450,000?
No. For example, let me give you. I just really
right, because that was at 7%, so that should be about 300,000. So where would that be? I didn't see it in this budget.
Okay, it's here. I have a bunch of things. Well, it's in. Let's see, 13.
It's on page 5. If the trustees want to see on page 5, the impact fee does count as a revenue,
right?
But I know that we have to pay that back at 7%. If I think I calculated right, 7% is about 300,000 a year. So I'm just trying to see that we put that in there because we definitely want to have that in there.
Yes, it's in here, trustee.
What page?
Hold on for a second. I have to go through all of this again. I'll have to have a minute.
Got a quick question. Did everybody receive their documentation in their Dropbox?
Yeah, I have to go through it, trustee, and pull it out here. I got so many notes on this that I was going to.
Okay. Because I want to anybody that look at this for the first reading, and I know you said first reading, but this is quite a bit, Madam Village Manager.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Because we're going from, and like I said, when I was told not to deviate, and the mayor already know my stance, not to deviate from the expenditures of the village, or we're going to go into receivership. And the blueprint that he printed was written by lawyers and special finances, people of finances, and I just do not want us to increase in any way, because if we do, I just don't think we're going to recover. And I
Trustee,
know,
and there are a lot of increases. There are a lot of increases that are not.
Yeah, 15 million worth.
Yeah, but I'm trying to tell you, trustee, I mentioned this before. Some of these people, they didn't put necessarily need, they put in desires. So
Okay.
you're trying to make it crunch to the reality of need. And as I mentioned this, I wanted you all to see the first. There were no cuts, no anything. We put in the needs, the interest, the impact fees, the estimated permit. We put all that in here, but also in here, you'll find substantial increases in every department. So you're gonna have to go deeper than that question, but I could answer that.
Before the second reading, I'm gonna be deeper than that, because there's no
That's
way.
good. That's good.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
I just had a simple question. What's the percentage of the cost of living increases that's worked into the budget for staff? What's the percentage?
It's in negotiations, but I could tell you that. I'd rather not tell it publicly, but I'll tell you that because we're in the process of negotiating now, and we don't want to actually show our hands here, but I'll be more than happy to tell you.
Okay.
Madam Village Manager, I'm gonna go down the line.
That's two questions.
We've only
That's two things.
midnight.
I'm gonna talk to each of you, and I'll provide it and show you and give you the pages. That's two people. Okay, I got you.
Okay.
And I can very easily tell you, but.
Okay, because I'm looking here. I don't want to make I'm not going to make any modifications right now. I'm going to be honest.
No, do whatever you want with it. It's yours to do whatever. We could.
But I just want, you trustees, we do see the number here, right?
Oh, yeah. I hope you all do.
We see it.
This is not good.
But you know what else we put in here, trustee, that we've not been putting in here? The GO bond obligations. We put those in here too. So don't forget. It's a lot of things. So when I go through it, I'll be more than happy to explain all of this. And this is the real deal.
Okay. And
what you're talking about is peanuts compared to the others. And I'll discuss that with whoever. And then we can all discuss it.
Okay, but did you also, the one question I want to ask is that our staff in 2015, 2016, Manager Townsend cut them they 10%. Did it bother even including that in this one?
Cut them who?
Even the village manager's salary was cut.
The staff, everybody's cut.
Well, you all got union major issues here. We can cut them, but the question is, you may cut this way or they're going to come back to you at that way. So you signed some agreements that you all don't quite remember you signed. So we'll talk about that too.
Are you talking about agreements with the unions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, can I make a point, Madam Village Manager, that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for letting me know that I expect, I really want to know where we're going to get the 12 million from.
Me too.
Right. I want to know where we're going to get the 12 million from, because when we look at it this year, we're going to be 3.5 in the hole. But if we realistically stayed on the path that the previous board had set, I mean, this digs a deeper, this almost make us 5.5 million in the hole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And trustee, and I'm glad you're saying that, because I wanted you to see what the original budget was with the real numbers and the other kinds of dollars that were put in the budget. I had no intention of cutting any departmental's budget during this first phase, but there were other real numbers actually placed in here too to show a possible real debt. But the point you're making is very clear. I want you all to see this, but believe me, by the time we get to the third reading, it would be to an acceptable point, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. But I didn't want to influence you this first reading.
Okay, page 14, vehicle maintenance at the police department. Is that for all their vehicles, or?
You see,
we got 15. That's Chief Wilson, but then wait a minute, hold on. Page 14 and then 15. Okay, Chief Wilson, if her car, we got 2,000 to take care of hers if something go wrong. But her car is aging. But then we got the maintenance on the fleet. And I don't know, Madam Village Manager, we done spent before we even got started. Well, probably 40,000 was being nice under 2019 on page 15.
Trustee, I've not been given an opportunity to give my monthly report tonight. You're going to be very happy. You're going to be very happy to hear some things, but I'm responding to you as you asked me. This budget, don't get too upset about this budget.
I
about my conversation.
I need some Pepto-Bismol looking at these numbers.
Well, I'm glad, because now when we get down to the real nitty-gritty, you need to know where we're going to have to cut. But I wanted you all to see it.
We can't cut nowhere else, Madam Village Manager. We at the bare bone. Jonna Townsend said it. She said if we make anything else, and Mayor, am I correct? If with the blueprint you told us to follow, am I correct? I don't know. We have to keep it tight, right?
I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, Jonna Townsend said we cannot cut no more. This is where
Trustee.
We're not going to get no revenue.
Trustee.
Get deeper in debt.
Hey, look, I'm just saying.
I got a headache looking at it.
We're getting ready, trustee. When I'm coming down the road, as soon as you all let me do my report, I'm giving you a budget that was presented. There are going to be some cuts. I'll tell you that much. There are going to be some substantial cuts, but I wanted you all to see based on departmental submissions and what they consider as their needs. Okay.
You killing me,
so
Miss.
I wanted you to see that.
I don't want to sound
everybody.
like Chris Sanford.
So you saying that this is their wish list, but it's not going to happen?
Okay. Wish list, right?
Happen, trustee. It cannot happen. It cannot
happen. This definitely
can't
can't happen.
But I wanted you all to see it. So I wouldn't be the one to initially come up with the sheared scissors, but I think it's going to truly have to be based on what we can get along with or to deal with as a minimum in each department to function. But you have to remember, a bulk of this budget is salaries, fringe benefits, retirement,
insurance,
and that's the medical. So you need to understand that.
Okay,
about 82% of it. Okay?
Can we agree, like with Trustee Franklin and the mayor just got through talking, when we need more officers on the street, that we budget that? I'm seeing how many officers is this going to be? I see you did a little increase, in which that's why I'm smiling just a little bit here. On page 15.
Trustee, I'm not even ready to change my expression right now. You're picking up on some things, but like I said, this is your time to tell what you want wherever. It's your time, and I'm leaving it like this. But then I'm going to come back to be a little combative later if you pull out the wrong thing based on some.
Oh, I ain't gonna pull nothing wrong out. Oh no, you know me. I ain't gonna no.
So may I say this?
But anyway, that's all I have.
Make appointments with 2 trustees at a time and give them the opportunity to spend some time with you and look over the budget.
Yes,
as
Lord.
As long as we can practice social distancing, I will.
Yeah.
Please do. So now we're up.
This mirrors a lot of discussion.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
This is great.
I ain't liking this, Miss E, but I hear you. I'm not liking it.
Trustee, I can't say I like or dislike. This is you all's first reading. I'm just sitting here hearing your comments. But then we can sit down 2 at a time. That's great. That's great. That would be wonderful.
I yield my time, man. I can't say nothing else.
Any questions from any other of the members of the council? Madam Clerk, let's do a roll call and see what. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
If this is passed first reading, then I can put a public notice in the newspaper that the board is considering this budget. And you can schedule a public hearing if you think one would be necessary.
Okay. All right. Let's do the roll call. Let's see what the pleasure of the board is. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Trustee Williams. Trustee Williams.
Votes no.
No?
No.
Okay. Trustee Brooks.
Votes no.
Trustee Jenkins Bell.
Votes no.
Trustee Franklin.
Votes no.
Trustee Bolden.
Absolutely no on this.
Trustee McMullen.
Absolutely no.
Mayor Rudez.
Hey.
Motion failed.
No.
First reading failed.
All right, so let's address a couple of things. So what you're going to have to do, obviously, you'll have to come back with the revised for your review, but recognize under the municipal budget law, theoretically, your budget has to be approved within the first quarter of your fiscal year. So that would really be by the end of July.
Yes.
Obviously, with this failing, we don't really even have enough time by your July meeting to do a notice. Now, luckily, there is no penalty. If you ended up adopting it in August or so, there's no penalty for it. It's just you're just kind of not in compliance with the municipal budget law. So what we're going to have to do is that, you guys will review at your next meeting, and if we get to the point where that gets approved, then we'll do a notice for your, essentially at some point in August, because we are going to be 30 days from now. Your July meeting is, let me look, sorry.
28th.
The 28th.
No,
So we had the
no, correction.
We don't have
We only have one meeting in
28th.
in July, right?
August,
Yeah.
and that's the second Tuesday of the month.
Oh, good.
So,
What
wait
I
a minute,
can
we're
do
only having
is
one
setting
meeting
up
in
these
August?
meetings.
One meeting in July and one meeting in August, which is the second Tuesday of each of those
Okay.
months.
So,
All right,
I
so,
start
so
meetings
really we're
tomorrow.
looking,
make
so
a
what we'll
point.
have to
We'll
do
sit
is
down
that,
with the manager and let's work out the kinks and let's move forward.
yeah, so what we'll do is this will be back on the agenda for the July 14th meeting, and then we'll go from there in regards to picking a date, the 30 days notice, so that the clerk can do the hearing notice and get this approved.
You think I can set up meetings with all the trustees by then? Would you all be willing? Even Trustee McMullen, if we have to do it in the evening?
Yes.
Okay.
So please make your appointments with the manager and let's move on forward. All right, thank you. Attached for your approval is a listing of general operating expenses for the Village of University Park that occurred on May 27, 2020 through June 23rd, 2020. General Fund, $248,371.08. Road and Bridge, $2,610.88. Town Center Fund, $3,631. Tip 4,000 bucks. Tip 5, $2,517,287.73. Tip 6 to be wired to the vendors, $3,986,820.78. Tip 6, $1,000, and the payroll fund, $4,794.19, with a grand total of $6,765,516.65. Is there a motion?
So move.
Moved by Trustee McMullen. Is there a second? Is there a second? No second, bills payable? Okay.
Motion failed.
Motion fails. Okay. Bills won't get paid today.
Could I ask, mention something, Mayor? May I comment?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. First of all, let me just explain something. At the last board meeting, the board agreed to settle the COFIN agreement, of which the village had entered in contract with that particular vendor, and that, to be exact, was what you're looking at under TIF 5. They had come up with a substantial large amount. The village attorneys and its effort were able to get it down to the 2.5 million some odd dollars. At that last meeting, the board voted to settle the agreement at that amount. The majority vote agreed to settle.
It was a 7-0 vote. Trustee Brooks made the motion. Trustee Jenkins Bale seconded, and it was a unanimous 7-0 vote.
It's a suit. We didn't have control over this. We had to pay it under a TIF because of the prior agreement that was sanctioned by the prior administration. And just because they did it, it's still the village's responsibility, acting in these legislative positions, to adhere to that contract. So they took us to court. We had to pay it. So when you approved as such, we had to pay it. And we had to pay it by the deadline, or the court was sanctioning the village. So this $2,517,000 plus has, hello, low battery. Okay, hold it. Okay, I hope my thing is going out, low battery. Okay, but we had to pay that, just to know. Okay, now let me just mention to you the 2 million of that 3986820. 2 million of it is for solo. It's our regular payout based on our TIF receipt of dollars. We have to do that based on their TIF agreement. It has nothing to do with anything. When the money comes in based on the 75% of dollars, Will County sanctions the amount as such, we have to pay it. So, and also the additional amounts of 1,034,217,000 are the two pieces of property that Exeter owns. And this is all under the TIF 5. So 702 Commerce and 500 Crossing Drive. These are all regular TIF payments. That TIF payments are made out based on their agreements after funds are collected through Will County. As the TIF administrator, we have a legal option. We have to pay this. So of course you bring it to the board based on the agreement. So that's what these mega TIF costs are. The $3,986,820, the $2,500,000 as such. The other nominal dollars come from the general fund, the 2,000 road and bridge, and the 3,631 town center. Those comes from maintenance of the town center operation. So the bulk of the money here is from TIF 5 and TIF 6. Well, actually it's TIF 5. TIF 6, it's only 1,000. TIF 5 and both TIF 5 through the Colfin suit and for the other payment, regular payment to Exeter, and the suit of 2.5 million and our regular payment to Solo. That's what those dollars are. The bulk of this money, in fact, it's over, if you do your math, it's over $6 million that we've had to pay out predominantly for TIF 5.
And this lawsuit comes from 2006.
Yeah, we don't, yes.
Mayor, may I be recognized? Yes, Mayor. Let me be clear tonight, and I'm going to be this clear because you didn't know anything about this, Mayor. But what I'm about to reveal to you is the truth. 4 weeks ago, when you were out of town, there were strong allegations that a bank account, our bank account, checks bounced. Then there was another set of checks that had bounced. So what I did, Mayor, is that I forwarded the email and I asked the village manager, because it wouldn't be Clerk D. I know the rules. It's not the Madam Clerk. I asked the village manager, Mr. Mayor, to please provide to me the bank account. Actually, I asked for several things. I asked for who had a credit card. That was number one. And if he had a credit card, just give me who had the credit card and what type. That's all I asked, man. I didn't ask for nothing else. Then I asked for, when I didn't get that, I asked for the bank accounts, balances, all accounts, because I am a signature, and I didn't get a response. And it was to the point, Mayor, that I feel that if this is going to happen, there's going to need to be voting if I don't know what's in the bank. I can't be honest if the trustees say, is there money in the bank? And then to top it off, here it is. I'm a trustee. 32 days later, residents have our bank statements. They know how much was in the bank. I don't know nothing.
Amen.
And so,
Amen.
how am I supposed to make
Amen.
a sound decision, Mayor? And like I said, Mayor, you didn't know, so I kept it from you. And I'm telling the general public, the Mayor, did I email you? You had been busy, right? You didn't know about this, right? I didn't notify you. All I did was ask for her to tell me. I didn't bring it to nobody. I kept it our business. And now we come to bills payable. Mayor, I also asked, and I know I said it in the January meeting when we did that transfer of the money. Every time there's a transfer of the money, please notify all the trustees. Now, I heard tonight 1.9 is taking operatives. Where did 1.9 go?
Hello.
That's my point tonight. So it's nothing, it's just when we ask for something, give it to us. If I ask for it, I want to be responsible. Because if somebody come in and say that it's taking over, Mayor, Trustee Brooks did not know. And I'm telling you, man, this was while you was out of town. That was about 4 weeks ago. And I had asked. So I'm upset because I can't get something 32 days later, but a resident, they got information about what we've been doing.
Oh yes.
And they post, and I don't have Nextdoor, but they don't post it. So am I not good enough as a trustee to receive information to know about what's in our bank account? And then tonight, I know about the 2.5, but then I see 3.9. No, man, I'm not going to do it.
Trustee?
Yes, ma'am.
In terms of you asked me about the check. No checks have bounced.
Don't.
No checks have
didn't
bounced.
bounce, Madam Village Manager, with the fire department twice.
No, sir. You can come in and you can check the records. Not one check bounced. What she did was she released the monies. They didn't honor the
Who
checks.
released the money?
The Miss Kelly had to call in and was placed in a special fund, of which I found out when everybody else found out the type of fund it came through. She called the bank and she released the dollars. We discussed that in that meeting that we had with the chief of the union president. No money.
So when they went to cash the check, is the check any good?
They couldn't cash it because the
exactly.
But it didn't bounce. But it's a special.
Well, why they couldn't cash it?
It was given to them, as I understand, at the PM, 5 p.m. or whatever, and they went Saturday to cash the checks or something. And as they attempted to cash it, they would not give them the money. They put a hold on these checks. They put a hold.
Because it hadn't cleared yet?
It had to clear. They put a hold on it.
Let me ask you this. The account that the money was in, did we transfer any money into that account?
No, the money was already in the account.
Can I get a statement to see that? Because that's what I've been asking for. Because the fire department ain't gonna lie about it.
Please make sure that the trustees get everything.
I'll make sure everybody get a copy of that.
Please do.
I want to make sure that we have everything, because if I'm gonna be honest, Mayor, when I sent that one email, and Madam Clerk, she'll tell me I'm not. I sent for one piece of item, Mayor. So you know what happened? You raised my suspicion, and it ballooned. You didn't know about it.
Did you?
Nobody.
Did you get an opportunity to talk to Miss Kelly? Did you talk to her because she was CC'd on it?
I tell you what. Hold up, everybody. Let's break up all the contentious arguments and things of that nature.
I'm just trying
I just want to say, and Manager, if the trustees are asking for documentation, which is going to help them be better informed, please ensure that they get it in a timely manner, because we do not want to wind up in another lawsuit because we have failed to follow the obligations of the lawsuit that we just didn't pay today. So I kind of understand the frustration, because if that's a working document that the trustees need, just make sure that Trustee Jenkins Bell, Trustee Franklin, Trustee Curtis McMullen, Trustee Bowden, Trustee Theophilus Brooks get the necessary documentation. Madam Clerk, and then Trustee Bowden.
Well, what about Trustee Lee?
Just to respond.
What about Trustee Liz Williams, ma'am?
Well, yeah, I'm just looking because I see their faces. And Trustee Liz Williams, you're in the village hall. Make sure she gets what she wants to. No omission. I just don't see your face on the screen, trustee.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I
Yes,
just
Madam
wanted
Clerk.
to comment to Trustee Brooks' comments. I did speak with him about once I saw the email, and I did invite him to make an appointment to come in and he could review all of the documents, but it was too time consuming, and we were still physically closed. Am I correct, Trustee Brooks?
You did, Madam Clerk. You said you got give you 10 days if you give you because it was
Damn,
Ms. E,
and
it's Ms. E responsibility, and you were willing to step in,
right?
And you said give you 10 days to do it. But see, but Mayor, I asked Ms. E. Madam Clerk should not be taking up that responsibility because it wasn't geared to her. Madam Clerk was just trying to solve the issue.
Right.
So she was trying to keep the peace. But now you got 6.7 million. The trustees, how we gonna vote for something if I can't even get a bank account?
We don't even know what it is.
And I understand. Let me say this: that we all get the Dropbox documentation on Thursday or Friday prior to the meeting, and everybody has an opportunity to sit down and meet with them. Maybe they do it, maybe they do not. But if there's something that a trustee is requesting, I just want to make sure that you get the things that are necessary to move forward, because we want to be good stewards of our finances, and we don't want to put a bad blemish on the economic world that's really trying to crash into University Park.
It was over 4 weeks ago, Mayor, I asked for these documents, and Madam Clerk was only trying to step in to keep the simmering because, and I did ask all the trustees was asked to have the transfer from the tip, all of them.
Yes.
We got them before. Why we haven't got them? We just passed $3 million of credit. Mayor, we just want to know what every dime had come out. And then tonight, I just understand the trustees are looking at a budget, and the budget, we looking at the budget like, okay, I understand. We looking at numbers at this point. We're not looking at the reality. And Mayor, some people that should be in jail, and they probably gonna go to jail. When you sitting on the board, they would give y'all false information. And
well, trustee, let me ask you, you want transfer of all TIF dollars? Is that what you're asking?
That's what I said in the public meeting, and Madam Clerk wrote it down. Please advise us.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And we
well,
do have your email.
I don't have any problems with you getting transfer of TIF dollars. I mean, I'll give them to you.
So let me say this, Madam Clerk. Moving forward, from this point on, Manager, please, when the trustees request something, please ensure that they have the proper documentation that they're requesting so we can continue moving the community forward.
Okay, but let me just mention one thing, that if the trustees need the documents, Mayor, I would more than happy, but it's like things are getting out before I can even get them to trustees. So
really,
trustee. I'm telling you, I know, trustee. You want them? I will get. I have no problems getting, especially with TIF. I mean, I have no problems getting to you, because you're a signature on there. I don't have any problems with that.
Oh yes. Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay. Any other questions on the bills payable?
Yes.
It's already failed.
Yeah, it's failed.
It failed for lack of a second. It failed for lack of a second. So
yeah, because we didn't have a second to move it forward.
Right.
So, Attorney Miller, let me just ask you one question. What are the consequences regarding the lawsuit if we don't pay them now? What's our deadline to pay the lawsuit?
So a couple of things. So some of even though you guys haven't approved it, probably some of these checks have already been written. I think that's typically how it's done. A lot of these bills you're paying afterwards. So am I correct? So Madam Village Manager, how many of these bills have actually been already paid out?
I will check tomorrow, but I'm sure quite a few of them have if they were due. Quite a few of them probably have, attorney. I will confirm, and I'll let you know exactly which ones have been. But I'm sure a lot of them have, because generally that's the way they do them. They pay them accordingly, and then board approval, especially if it's a contractual arrangement.
I don't want that stuff.
If it's a
to be- I want
contractual
it to be the right
arrangement,
way.
they'll generally pay it and then get it ratified through the board.
And for the litigation, I got to find out when the next court date is. You know, the good thing is that you guys have another meeting in 2 weeks. You know, ideally, I like that to be paid. I mean, would we be in, if the board voted to approve it. So as far as the court is concerned, that's the major thing. Now, the idea of, you know, writing the check, obviously that's the second part.
Right.
I guess what I would say to you guys is the first part was we got it approved so the court won't be too upset. And it's just a matter of actual paying the bill. You know, now typically once it's been approved by the board, that kind of check gets paid out anyway, but since it hasn't been paid out, am I right, Ms. Ernestine, that check has not been paid out yet, or has it?
Okay.
Unmute, Ernestine, village manager, unmute.
I'm sorry. Normally that payout is done through a wire transfer.
Right.
It's done through a wire transfer. And, you know, more than likely it could be, it could not be, but I'll find out tomorrow, and I will definitely let Trustee Brooks know tomorrow.
And you know, just
I mean, let us all know, Ernestine.
Right, all of you know.
Please.
Since it was approved, the settlement was approved by the board, I'm not as concerned if it hadn't been approved. My gut says that once it was submitted to the paperwork, that since that was coming through the TIF, that it probably has already been paid, and this is just the ratification of the kind of the confirmation of the amounts. But we'll just, since it failed for lack of a second, I understand your concern, Mayor, and your concern is extremely valid. But we'll work it out so that we can let the court know if there's an issue.
Right.
The good thing is you guys have a meeting in 2 weeks, so we'll resolve.
And listen, this board of trustees is a fantastic group. When they want documentation, just let them have it. Make things a lot easier for everybody. That is, it's simple. It's not brain science. So moving forward, that's going to be the deal. Please make sure that you guys get everything that's needed to work with.
Yeah, and I was going to say, this is a prime example of the conversation you and I had, let's say Monday maybe, or Tuesday, Monday. You know, money's coming in, but we're not aware of it. You remember the conversation we had?
Yes,
and
ma'am.
we found out some money, a substantial amount had come in. You didn't even know about it. And we came back and found out, yeah, it's here. So stuff like that, we need to know about. If that type of money is coming in, the board should be notified of it. I know it's here, but I don't know what we're gonna do with it. That's not gonna work.
We got it's in my report. I get the report once a month. I can call, and I try to call when whatever individual trustees I can talk to, and I tell, but I got it in my report that I'm going to tell you all about this when it's time for me to report.
Okay, and manager, I would just ask you if you kind of do this, when there's an opportunity, when things come in, if you just individually just send them an email or something, just inform it that there's something.
Just an FYI, right. So we don't be blindsided on some stuff.
A group email to the trustees. I've been trying to tidpick, but I'll do that. I have no problem.
There's some kinks, but we're going to work those things out as well. But we just want to make sure, I want to make sure that my board is fully informed, that they have all the documentation and the necessary things to make an informed decision on the vote. And also when revenue dollars do come in, please just send them an email, say that X amount of dollars went in, and we're going to put in such and such account until it's time and there's a board decision to give directive. And let's keep this thing moving.
Mayor, I can send you the email, and she, the Madam Village Manager did call, and I did say on one phone call, if you want me to go get the date, I wrote in my notes, I don't think it's that serious, but it was on a Thursday. I said, Madam Village Manager, we need to know about this money being transferred from the TIF. We got to know the transactions. And she said, I'll have it to you first thing in the morning. Well, the morning done came 14
And went
times.
another morning and came. You're right.
14
You're right.
times.
All
I
right.
don't even
You're right.
got a haircut since then.
Say what?
I haven't, but you're right.
All right, so moving forward, that would be the process.
Moving forward. Okay.
So, and just one small thing. See, one thing we have to do, we have to get out the rearview mirror. Such a small picture, and we got to start focusing ahead on the big picture. But then when there's documentation needed, make sure that you guys get what you need. All right, let's get some reports. Manager, are you ready for a report? Everybody
Yes. Okay,
right.
I got 5% left on this, and it was 100%. So I go through it really, really fast today, board. We received, and I'll explain to each of you how we got this. I don't have time to explain it tonight, but for a permit fee, we were able to get $952,221.68 for a permit fee after we were able to negotiate and confirm we got the check. The check was received on 6/16 last week. We deposited the check. It cleared. It's in a special account at this point, and we can discuss specifics on that. That was one of the options I had to talk to the chief about on some utilization. But anyway, we can talk about that. We also received yesterday the $1 million in the impact fee, and those dollars are specifically outlined and designated for expenditures. So we're looking by the end of the week to have everything in place in order to order the cars, the 4 police cars. The 4 police cars has actually 3 phases to go through. The first phase is actually to order them based on state specs and all of that, to order them now. The second phase of that would be the package that has to complement and go with that. And the third phase of that is the striping, the painting, all of that. So as of today, I did receive the info for the chief. We are ready. I'll be talking with her tomorrow just to let you all know that we'll go forth to file that in order to order, and if necessary, to pay accordingly before the time expires, with us getting all the state credits or whatever. So 4 police vehicles will be ordered. We have the police department, not the police, the public works. We're looking at a dump truck, a boom truck, a regular vehicle, employee vehicle, and we're looking at a riding mower to deal with some of the issues around here. And the boom truck is to deal with the lighting, blah, blah. So it's going to be 4 categories. The fire department will be using their dollars to bring up to health code and some rehab on station number 2 in order to deal with the areas over in the industrial development areas. The code enforcement will get, in fact, 2 cars, 1 for the existing usage and 1 for a new code enforcement officer that will be fulfilling that. Okay, that's with that. Now let me continue to go with this. Okay, the other thing, the mayor and the board has been concerned about Regal Farm. We had a contractor for estimate purposes just to go over today to give conceptually some of the major issues that he found with Regal Farm. We are shortly thereafter, we're having the engineer to go out to give us an estimate of doing basic kinds of things to do a first phase or something to impact. So that was one intention we have been looking to use, bring it to the board to utilize some of the permit dollars for that. We were also looking to the village to utilize some of the permit dollars to deal with resurfacing the town center. We were looking at some dollars, and they're all being minutely budgeted and as suggestions for this 952. We were also looking to incorporate some streets, doing some major streets repair and patching, because we were looking at some tree removal. That's with this. The motor fuel tax dollars that are estimate will not be enough to compensate doing a majority of these items. We are waiting for the approval of the RTA project, and the RTA project has to do with the train tracks. The village has to come up with a match of $58,000, and we're waiting on the judge's decision. I talked with the attorney today from RTA. We had a conference call, and what they're basically saying is that they're waiting on the judge's order, that they anticipate our approval of this, but we have to wait on the judge's order. But we have to all be clear.
The railroad crossing?
Yeah, the railroad crossing and our fair share. We have to do a topo study, do the engineering, and do some resurfacing from 100 feet back off the tracks. And we have to commit. It came to approximately 58,000 some odd, but we're looking at considering utilizing some of the dollars out of the 952 to look at that. And we're also we're looking at, as I mentioned, resurfacing. We want to use the motor fuel tax monies that come in to do a 50-50 sidewalk program. People have been substantially complaining. The liability is both the homeowner and the village, so a 50-50 sidewalk program. I had hoped to bring it to this board meeting, but we didn't get it in enough time to post it. So I had an opportunity just to send the provisional guidelines out to each of the trustees so they could see that information. Also, we're looking at July 11th being the start of the cleanup for the village. We have consulted our current garbage disposal. In the past, they have given freebie in terms of the dumpsters, 30, 38-inch dumpsters, free to the village. We've been going now with them for about 2 weeks. We cannot give them to give the village any kinds of concession on that. They agreed to give us a $425 dumpster amount and charge us $135 an hour for each employee. I got a committee that has been working on that. Ms. Neva Jenkins, Ms. Keisha, and Ebony from the Public Works. They've been working on this diligently, and we're getting kickbacks. So now we're going to other sources trying to get dollars, state reps, offices, senators' offices that represent the village, to see if we can get some kind of contribution from them in order to complete the process of the cleanup day. Those dumpsters will be strategically located throughout the village, including we're looking on an electrical provision that would allow communities, the community residents, to get rid of those old TVs and whatever else. But we're targeting July 11th on that. Also, I just want to mention to the board that so we're looking at the, we mentioned the sidewalk program. We talked about the farm. We talked about resurfacing, and based on priority, we talked about the town center. We talked about the street repairs. We talked about earlier the preferential hiring agreement, and we just talked about the community cleanup. The other departments have the police and the fire and the Public Works have crucial reports that are needed. And I'll leave my reports at that, and I will talk individual to the trustees and try to get these reports out.
Okay. Report from Public Works, Chief. Public Works.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. You know, it's a pleasure to be sitting before you guys from the Public Works Department for the Village of University Park. Can you guys see me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'll just make sure everybody see me. As you know, we were still in this COVID-19 procedure, and as we are in that, of course, it comes a time where you're dealing with your vehicles, and if you don't have enough vehicles for the amount of men you have, then you have to be you have to think and be creative on ways how to get your guys around and get them to the locations they need to be. So I know me, the village manager, I know we sat with the mayor for a few equipment issues.
You're fading out. You're fading out.
I know we're talking about equipment issues as far as trees being cut and potholes being repaired. Me, the VM, we have sat down and we have come up with a game plan to get these things done. But as I've said before, it seems like people starting to forget that we're still in this pandemic. And that watching the news up today, I can see on the East Coast and the West Coast time up drastically. We're in the middle, so eventually it's gonna come to the middle. So I'm just trying to make sure I keep my guys safe as I can. I'd like to thank the village manager, also the police and the fire department for providing me with PPE. But also, to get back to operations, we are moving finally very positive direction. We're getting most of our lots cut due to the rain we had in April and May. May was unusual.
This iPad may have lost juice. That's why I have to immediately plug in.
As you all may not know, me and BM, we took a walk over there to see if there's things we can do to try to help bring some life back to the village, and we are really looking at me, her, and the engineer. We're supposed to go out there, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, village manager.
I can't hear.
Next week, if I'm not mistaken, we're supposed to go out there and look at redoing the bathrooms, redoing the outdoor chairs and stuff like that. We're trying to go into a different direction because a lot of that stuff hasn't been replaced in 16 years since I've been here. So there's things we're trying to do to ensure and show the residents that we are trying to keep us going to the right direction, going up. But that's to let you guys know employee that had from he was out for I don't know, maybe a month. We brought him back. His doctor cleared him, everything was clear. I'm glad to have him back. That was one of my mechanics. I'm glad to have him back. But as far as the VM kind of went over some of the stuff. We got a 50/50 program going. That's to be announced very soon, which will come from our MFT funds. We also vigorously working on cleaning that. I had a discussion with the DM today. I know we're probably going to have another one real soon about, I know several legislators was talking about we need to get something to go on that pool, but that would be very pricey for us to do that. So I do have a few ideas that I did want to run by her that would be a whole lot less expensive for us to do, and it would help alleviate that problem over there. So I will be talking with her on tomorrow on something as far as overhead.
I'm not sure why we can't hear him. He's still here.
I think we lost Darrell.
Yeah, he's still on, but we just can't hear him or see him.
Nick?
I'll try calling him.
Yeah, I think his battery life is probably low, and so his device lost audio.
Okay. I'll call him and hold on.
Next
report. And the reason I asked the directors to be here, because the Board of Trustees don't have to answer questions about when the streets are going to get paved, when the trees are going to get cut, when the streets are going to get striped. And I think they need to hear the schedule and the agenda for the public works and what the residents can anticipate on cleaning up our village and getting some of the repairs needed in the community. So, and the same with Chief. They just want to know what the plan is for summer to ensure that the safety of the residents. Chief Wilson, go ahead. We can't get Mike now.
Okay. First, I think that everybody knows that we've been working or focusing on trying to get some of our hires in, getting us some more officers. We've been working with the Fire and Police Commission. And then depending on this budget, we're looking to get some more. So I know that that's an ongoing thing. And I'm hoping that we could at least have some sort of workshop or be involved in some sort of workshop, because I can't stress enough how hard it is to get these things going without having my dedicated investigators and so forth. My investigators are on the street right now, and they're working extra hours to do the investigative work that we needs to be done. But we have been clearing at least 3 of our cases this past month. So we're going to continue to do that over the summer. I'm still going to strategically put out extra manpower when we have, like for the upcoming holiday and so forth. And if there's an influx in some sort of crime or activity or so forth, then I'm going to put extra bodies out there, because we've been getting a lot of feedback on that. The residents seem to really enjoy having the officers out there. We're able to be a little bit more proactive instead of responding or reactive to everything, because we are extremely shorthanded. I have 2 that are about to go out on medical, so that's going to probably get worse. So just trying to think of some of the things that can help with this as this pandemic is beginning. It's not gone by any means, and I'm sure in the fall it's going to kick back up, but we are increasing, enforcement as far as traffic and so forth. I know that for example, the village stickers and things that some of our revenue, those things have been put off until September, and because we're giving the residents some extra time, and I understand that, but all that does affect our revenue. Just trying to come up with some of the other ways. Court has started back up, So that's getting back in, and it is taxing the department a little bit more because we've got to go back and forth between Frankfurt and Joliet for that whole thing. But regardless, we have been able to maintain our minimum staffing on the streets, on occasion helping to make sure we're present with some of the different functions that are going on within the community. We want to continue to do that. But it is vacation season. It is, like I said, I'm about to have 2 go out on long-term injury, or 1 go out on long-term injury. The other one is will be out on injury for about 2 weeks. So it is very taxing, but I just want to encourage everybody to please continue to contact me so we can try to address each of these concerns as they come, and we're making sure that we're increasing patrols in all of the residential areas, and that's going to continue. I'm glad we're getting the vehicles. That's going to be a lot better. However, we won't have them until fall, so because they're being ordered now, so that we won't have them until fall. So just keep in mind that the repairs and the vehicle situation, the roads, all this stuff is interconnected and it affects it. So I'm not, we're trying to keep costs down. I understand that, but at the same time, some of it can't be avoided. The truck enforcement, I know that brings in revenue. We want to continue to try to beef that up, but it's hard with the volume of calls that we have and doing the patrols to dedicate officers to go out to do the traffic enforcement too. So, we will be having a retirement this month from Dolores Buckley, 32 years of service with the village. So we want to definitely congratulate her on her retirement. But that takes me down to 1 support staff. So we're trying to fill that. We did have a replacement, but that did not work out. That employee, figured that she wasn't going to be able to continue to work with us. So we're trying to fill that position as well. Once we go through this, a lot of these things are contingent upon the budget, then hopefully we can at least get some part-timers out if we have vehicles for them to drive. We'll try to limit it to 2 officers per vehicle to cut down so that the vehicles aren't running 24 hours a day. Then, the amount of vehicles, it definitely affects how many officers and so forth. So all of that runs together. But I am encouraged and looking forward to trying to get the startup as far as this crime-free housing. We're going to give that our all. I'll sit down with my supervisors first, and after speaking with the manager, getting some direction from her, then we'll go ahead and get the training scheduled, and we will definitely put our best foot forward on getting this program up and running. And that's pretty much it.
And just also, if the residents see something that looks peculiar or abnormal, don't hesitate to pick up the phone and make that phone call. Because now with COVID-19, unfortunately, we have given some characters or some people masks to hide themselves. So if it's suspicious or unusual in our areas or somewhere in the town, just pick up the phone and call. You can't go wrong by being safe. And that's all I would like to encourage. And Chief, you have our full support, and we're going to be working with you. If we need the Will County Gang Crimes TAC Unit, the Cook County TAC Unit, we're going to make them phone calls, and we're going to do everything possible to ensure that you have everything that's needed to be successful in making sure this community is safe. The residential and the business part. All right. Any other reports of any? Chief Chelios. That's our COVID guy there.
Okay, can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. Yes, I do have an update on the coronavirus. I'm going to skip down and not focus too much on the global or the national picture, because the more local you can get with these numbers, the more they make sense. So as of this evening, we have 137,825 cases in Illinois. We're also looking at up to a 94% recovery rate now in Illinois, which is huge for us. Things get a little bit better when you look at the Will County end of things. We're looking at just over 6,400 cases in Will County, and our total count for the village itself is up to a total of 120 cases. Now, what that number represents is just the historical total of where we are today, you know, compared to when we got our first case roughly back in the beginning of March. So since we got the bulk of our cases during the end of March and roughly the first half of April, there's not 120 active cases in the village. It's probably more like, I'd say somewhere between 35 and 40. And those are the ones that are still getting reported, you know, throughout the last few weeks. Back at the height of this thing in the village, we were seeing sometimes up to 6 or 7 cases reported a day. Right now, it probably takes us, you know, 3 to 4 weeks to get that many. We're down to possibly seeing 1 new case here or there every 2 to 3 days. So when you talk about the reopening and, you know, moving from phase 3 into phase 4, Illinois is in decent shape right now. Just some numbers I pulled from the data this evening. A 24-hour change in case numbers. California had an increase of 6,200 cases in 1 day. That same time period, Illinois only saw an increase of 600 cases. So a 1 week change in case progression during basically a Friday to Friday posting. Illinois saw only a 4% increase in case volume, while the states of California and Texas saw increases of 24% and 37%. So the big thing that we know for sure is working is the social distancing, the staying home when you can, and the wearing of the mask or the face covering. That has been the determinant factor on why we have essentially flattened out our curve pretty well here in Illinois. And you'll see on the news even this evening that cases are still skyrocketing in other states. So a comparison here, early April, Illinois was looking at an infection rate of roughly 22%. We were seeing a 16% increase in daily new cases, and we were testing roughly 8,000 to 9,000 people per day. Looking at things now, the infection rate is now starting to drop below 10%. We're looking at only roughly a 1% increase in new case activity, and we're testing people at a rate of close to 22,000 people per day on average. Chicago and Cook County seem to be the continuing epicenter in Illinois. They share about 70% of all COVID-related activity. That's cases and unfortunately deaths as well. And right now, Will County, we're just not seeing the same level of increases that are happening in the counties of primarily Lake, DuPage, Kane, and Cook County. So if the message, you know, to the general public comes from us, you know, we have to stick with the safety measures that we've had in place. They're going to continue to work. Social distancing, wearing masks, you know, washing our hands. There are talks about what a potential second wave of this could look like in the fall. I think that's a little outrageous in some respects because, you know, we're just in the beginning of summer and we haven't dealt with this first one yet. But what is, you know, clear is that the decisions and choices we make now are going to heavily determine what the fall and the winter is going to look like. So we have things under control now, and we have to do all that we can, you know, to set that example and make sure we keep it that way. That's all I got on, the virus. Things in the fire department have been stable throughout this whole situation. We haven't had any exposures, no related illness to anything, and we've been able to maintain our protective supplies at acceptable rates. So we're looking at hopefully the nice weather will allow people to get back to some, routine of normalcy, in these coming weeks, but also to make sure that they continue to keep themselves safe as well. We've been doing some public outreach events here and there when we can. Those get more difficult because this is usually, block party season. So we've been trying to get involved with, the drive-by parades as much as we can when they come up, and just looking forward to what the summer's going to bring, and we'll be there for everyone that needs our help with anything. Don't ever be afraid to call us. That's all I got.
All right. Well, I have both the chiefs on the phone. There was something that I want to mention. Fireworks. It seems like fireworks are just going off more and more in the doggone community. Nowadays, you can't determine what's a gunshot or a firework. How do we address those issues of fireworks? And would someone from the police department or the fire department just tell what our rules and our laws are regarding fireworks?
Well, the fireworks are prohibited. We're not supposed to have them here in University Park or in the state of Illinois, unless there's some,
event.
Special event where they have a permit and so forth. So even the home ones and everything. Usually what we do in years past is we go past and we collect them and take them from the residents, because obviously we can't arrest everybody. So this does go on, and it is a mixture. Some of it's fireworks, some of it is actual gunfire. Okay, some of it is coming from some of our unincorporated areas too. And because there's nothing to absorb that sound, then it seems like it's coming from in town. But we pretty much know the difference. And I cannot stress enough that these Ring cameras, the home cameras and everything, people have been really, really good and forthcoming with sharing the information and the events that come across those things. That has helped us solve several cases. I want to encourage the residents to keep that up. Make sure you keep your stuff up to date. It protects your property, and it also protects the rest of the community. That's been really helpful with having those cameras around.
And also, Chief Chelios and Chief Wilson, that dog, I must be getting, I done lost that chain of thought that darn fast. That ain't funny, man.
Mayor, we will have some extra units out though for the holiday, for the days leading up to and the days after. Just
because you know what, I guess I was just going to refer back to the big fire that happened on Sullivan Lane, because it's going to be extremely dry, and people shot up their fireworks. They burnt down not just their home, but their neighbor's home. So we want to really encourage you to be discouraged about using self-proclaimed fireworks. We understand that they're not going to be fireworks. We understand that everybody has a touch of cabin fever, little mental illness is sticking in, and it's something abnormal to us. But please, just kind of adhere to the rules. It's going to save us all in the long run. Okay, any report from the Board of Trustees, Madam Clerk? Anybody?
No, mine is just simple. If you have not done so, filling out your 2020 census is very, very important. So encourage your neighbor to fill them out and get them in. It takes less than 5 minutes to go on your computer and go to 2020 census, fill out the forms and submit them, because that's where we get our representation in Congress, our state officials, and funding for our schools. So it's very, very important that we do that. And this is not a report, but I would like to applaud Coach Tutu and his team for the work that we did last Saturday at Craig Park.
Absolutely.
You know, we hear and read so much negativity about what needs to be done and what the board isn't doing. But if we come together, in addition to the drive-by food pantries and pulling up our sleeves and stuff and doing some work, it will go a long way. I ruined my village shirt painting. That's a hint. I need a new shirt. But I would like to commend him and all of the volunteers that were there after the parade were there, painting, cutting grass, raking. And I've got a beautiful picture of Neva and her two kids. You know, she said, "Oh no, Miss D, we don't take pictures." I said, "Why not? You're out here with your family. You're doing a community service. So why should you not be recognized?" And I would like to thank all of the volunteers. And I would like to implore our other members of the board, especially our men, in the event that we do another food drive soon, if you can, come out and take some of the weight off of us females, right, Trustee Bolden? Right.
Because it's killing me and Miss E.
It's killing.
Wait a minute. I'm out there 85% of the time now. Come on now.
I said, wait a
Oh,
minute.
well, yeah, you, but I'm telling me and Miss E, it's killing us.
Don't forget about me. Don't forget about me.
Wait, I wasn't finished.
Right.
I wasn't finished.
Shirley, I'm talking to Shirley. Shirley said
I ain't gonna forget you, Liz.
I got to you, Trustee Williams. You were coming up. But, and Trustee Williams, this last one that we had last week, and glad you're feeling better and you're out of the hospital. But Trustee Williams was at every one, you know, standing there, helping out. And it's important that we come together as a community, that we let our voices be heard by the work we do. Because, you know, people can say anything. It's what you do that makes a difference. And service is something that we can all do, and we can all, you know, do this. And as I always say, in giving thanks, don't forget to be thankful. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Mayor. I'll just say, in the wake of George Floyd and a lot of things that has been happening with our world, I just would like, for those who are listening, to understand that in 1989, when I first came to this village, I was indeed a young man, about 16. And
get them fishing boots.
I was pretty bad. I was pretty bad. But the now retired Chief Easley was Detective Easley back then, and I remember Village Hall being the police station. So I was put back there in that little room. I guess they got it was a brown old couch, but he made me watch a video, and it changed my perspective of difference of being bad and which I can be good. And so it changed me. That Scared Straight video, that's what it was. I watched Scared Straight. But the number one thing I want to say is that right now police officers are taking a beating. And so when I became a police officer, myself, Wilson was part of them. Back in the late 90s, when they did that crime bill, there's a lot of negative things about it, but it also was a lot of positive things. And I just want people to take a look at this screen. You have Trustee Brooks and Chief Wilson, who was hired off those grants that came to this village. So being a police officer was not a bad thing. And please understand, there are guys out there that shouldn't be doing bad things. And I can promise you, Chief Wilson, myself, especially when I was in Harvey, there was a lot of, you know what, meet me in the parking lot after the shift. Because I have a problem when it comes to a young man being handcuffed too tight or any of the sort. And see, it took men like me to get other police officers to stand up for what's right. Now, I became a police officer and use it as a tool to help my people in the community. One of the very first books, and I seen that Trustee Franklin had, he always wear something dealing with our people on there, Black colleges. I think I seen even a shirt with Huey. One of the first books I ever read was Message to the Black Man. Now, some people are not religious, but what I can say is that when you see that, read The Final Call, doesn't matter, but it was a foundation to let you know who you are and where you're going. So what I do today, indeed, I'm not happy. It doesn't surprise me that Chicago is doing a blue flu, and I said it was going to happen because police officers are getting burnt out. There's no way you can work 6 days. You work 6 and 3 shifts, 6 days on, 3 days off, but you're in the middle of fighting riots and working 12-hour days. And in saying that, University Park, I'm very proud of you all because in the midst of this, University Park, you did not tear up your town. You respect your town. And that's something that we just never gave credit to our people for. And I want to say those parents and Coach, you know you was part of it too, as well as myself. A lot of these kids were coached by us. And I know they were raised right. And actually these kids who are looking forward to be coached by us are going to do right. And that's the blessing. The peaceful march that they did have, that's a demonstration of showing how University Park raised their kids and they're doing it the right way. Meanwhile, towns around us was going up. They were blowing up. But University Park, we stood fast, and I'm proud of you all. And for those who still want to be a police officer, you can. Just understand that you're doing it for the best and all the right reasons. Don't do it to get in because you want to bully somebody. You get in and do like I did. Every day, I dedicated myself when I got promoted to juvenile to doing the right thing. So that's why I'm popular from Harvey to University Park, because I did the right thing for every kid. And now along the way, I met my beautiful wife. So it has some benefits to it. Next, I want to say to DPW, I would like to thank you because I did go out in the community. I do go out and I talked to some residents. They did fill up a lot of potholes. I like to thank the village manager as well. She made sure that some of those things were diverted. The resources were diverted to getting some things done. As I took the tour of the village, another thing I would like to get done, and the mayor had mentioned, we got to get this emergency management going. I have this feeling in my stomach that we overdo. What I mean by that, we need to be prepared if there's a tornado or any of the sort, that we have people in place so that we can have these things that help out our fire and police department. It's time for us to start thinking outside the box. The police department, they're trying to get bodies, and we don't know what the fire department...
Live bodies.
Exactly, live bodies. They need to get dispatched. We need help. So it's time for us to come together as a community and get these things going. So that was one of the reasons why I keep emphasizing about radios for volunteers, so that everyone will be in communication just in case this town goes black. But we're overdue, and we need to be prepared, as they call, be ready. Lastly, I want to say for fireworks, let's be considerate of those who indeed are Vietnam vets, Iraqi vets, those who are listening. Come on. I mean, even with me at some time when I hear a pop, I'm not jumping because it scared me. It's jumping because you're causing me to make a reaction to something that I'm trained for. And I heard enough pops in my life that I don't want to hear them no more. That's why I'm in University Park. So I just ask that we all be responsible. Let's enjoy the holiday and be safe on this holiday and make sure that we keep in practice our social distancing. Coach Tutu, before I leave, Coach Trustee Frank, I want to say I'm very proud to see how you had those kids in the park. I can't come out here, and I think I texted you the reason why, but you know, if my health was much better that I could do it, I say most definitely if I had my healthy young body like you and people, Trustee Franklin is doing a lot of great things. That day, everybody, that park should have been full. Okay, so in saying that, everybody enjoy your 4th and love you all.
Hey, Trustee, real quick, but there is something in place, and I hate to just keep going, but it's important. People need to know that there is a system in place that Chief Wilson and Chief Chelios have been working on, and we're trying to encourage more residents to register to give their contact information, their phone numbers, and what else is it?
Right, the dial back. Yes.
Reverse 911 call or whatever.
Right, for Nixle.
For Nixle, yeah. So
right, you can go on the village website. Neva has really been pushing that, and we've gotten a lot more people registered for it, you know, than when we originally started. She's really been pushing that and gotten a lot of people signed up.
And we want to keep pushing that because that's our way of communication. We have to find better ways to communicate to our residents: phone, email, text, whatsoever. Thank you for guys getting that thing in place and moving forward. You know, I had a very, very, very lengthy report tonight, and I think I'm just going to touch on just a little bit of it because it's important. And I don't know, and I know, wait a minute, I'm sorry, did I stop someone else or interfere with someone else's report?
Real quick, I had.
Go ahead, Trustee Franklin, I'm sorry.
Quick, being mindful of the time, I'm going to be quick as well. I want to give a shout out and say thank you to Pastor Moses and Faith Mover Church for our graduation parade. Individual, awesome church that does awesome things for our community. We're just thankful to have you. I also want to give a shout out to Dr. Hall for helping to organize the peaceful protest with the young people in the village. If you had opportunity to experience the peaceful protest, I know Mayor Rudez was there, myself. It was an awesome event. I also want to give a shout out to Chief Wilson for solidarity with the young people. I think that was a powerful moment for our community as we begin to change the dialogue around what policing look like and making sure that the youth understands that all police are not bad police. There's bad people in all fields and all different situations. And then finally, I'd like to thank everyone who came out to help participate in the Park Restoration Phase 2 project. Special shout out to Trustee Shirley for coming out, Trustee Jenkins Bell, even though she wasn't feeling well, she took the time to come out and support. Clerk D. Jones rolled her sleeves up and went to work out there. Was impressive. Neva came out and she did her job as it relates to filming and taking pictures. But shortly after, I turned around and she had rolled her sleeves up too and was helping and painting and doing all kind of things with her children. And I also want to thank Brooks for reaching out to let me know, his stance on it and giving full support. And also Trustee Williams for reaching out to me from the hospital to let me know why she wasn't there. And these type of situations, I believe, is extremely important. As well as Mayor Rudez providing water for all the participants out there. And I just thank you all. It's not that I would expect you all to come out to work, but I just expect that, you show up and I believe it's your heart that really matters in these type of situations. To the residents, I'm going to continue to provide these opportunities for you to be a part of the solution. As my grandmother used to say, if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. So I want to make sure I continue to put things together so that you can roll your sleeves up as well and be a part of the solution. That's my report. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. I'll kind of make this, I'll kind of skim over this stuff as fast as I possibly can.
And can you email me your report?
You know what? I'll tell you what, I'll email, but I want to ask everybody, I did a study during this COVID-19 during the month of May, and I rode just about through every block, and I made sure that every trustee has an official copy of that report. So I would ask you guys to take a look at it, give me your input, your thoughts, and see if there's anything that we can snatch out of that report and implement it immediately. And I'll just see you guys and give this full detail, but I just want to make a mention that on June 14th, 2019, we were hit with a water crisis. We have passed our 1-year anniversary with the aqua water crisis. And where we are right now, we're according to them, we're about 72% of all of the way. But there's a problem that I have with aqua water. Aqua water continues to call me and ask me to make PSAs announcements on their behalf, encouraging our residents to run the water. I told Aqua Water, absolutely not. If I will be glad to do that on one condition. If you would waive our sewage bills for July, August, and September, if you really want this doggone problem to go away, then give us that courtesy, show us the humanitarian side, and screw the $671 billion Fortune 500 company and show that you care about the residents of the village of University Park. So we don't know what, we made the proposal last Thursday. For those who don't know, we're on an Attorney General call, Trustee Brooks, myself, and Manager Ernestine with the Attorney General and other legal representatives. But this week, I had a surprise for him. I had Senator Patrick Joyce on the phone, and it blew their doggone mind because enough is enough. I think it is our season for us to get our equity right. They're not going to continue to treat us like they've been treating us. I asked the Attorney General one question, and it was dead silence. I said, does Aqua treat the village of University Park this way because we are a predominantly African-American community? And the phone call went dead silence. I'm leaning towards that doggone way now because it doesn't happen anywhere else. So they want to take everything that we have and give us nothing. The residents, they want sampling. As Mrs. Stroud called me earlier today, she was very boisterous about Aqua Water. We're out there working for them. Our residents don't work for Aqua, they don't pay for them. So give us a play. Give us a play. They have not made one single financial commitment to this community. To me, that Hickok Pool should be the Aqua American facility in University Park, operated by Aqua and with employees and everything for the season that it's open. They have to start reinvesting this community because I tell you one thing, that we're gonna try our best to get from under that boot because just like Floyd, they got they got their foot on our neck. And every single time that they want to do something, they go to the ICC, they get one person shows up, they increase us and they own us. But we're not slaves no damn more. We are free and we're gonna fight for our equity and justice in this community as far as our water rights. It's no longer that company can hold a municipality hostage. And that's what we feel like. They change up the water system. They find every single loophole. So when it went to them changing from the 24, the regular bottles that everybody was accustomed to, there's a small loophole that gives, long as they provide a certain amount of ounces, it's permissible. We can't keep allowing that stuff to happen because all they're worried about is their economics, what their bottom line is, and they don't seem like every conversation that we have, well, and I told the Attorney General, hell, who you working with? Because I don't want to hear what Aqua's economics are. I want to worry about what the humanitarian side is for our village, what the health benefits are for our region. Why can't we use our water without having to run for 10 minutes? And you have to use this filter, and if the filter doesn't work, that's nonsense. We pay a heavy price for water that I'm never was in support of, come off the top of the Kankakee River. So this, and I'm gonna be finished up, but you start talking about Aqua, we start talking about passion. This is how this whole thing started. There was a new source being brought into the village of University Park. The law states that a piece of the old pipe has to be cut off, taken into the laboratory, and have the chemical laboratory tested to see how the effects of the new chemical is going to work on the pipe, whether it's going to be safe. In this case, well, it wasn't safe. So they didn't do that. They didn't follow protocol. What Aqua did with us is they did computer-generated testing, like we were I gotta watch my mouth, some test tube just to try out something. They didn't even give us the courtesy and common respect to follow the protocol, cut off the daggone pipe, and do what's right. So they put in this chemical sequence which was not banned by the EPA, which is extremely strong, disrupted our whole system. And now it comes around. Now they want to put it on like my house. My house was built in 1973. Now they want to say, well, Mr. Mayor, Joe, Linda, well, now it's not our fault, but now you have to replace all of your lead piping in your house because we didn't think enough of you guys to go through the proper procedure. We're going to say to hell with University Park. We're going to send it to the computer labs. We got new IT guys, and this is just as good. Well, look what happened. You've disrupted the whole system, and now we're in this another crisis. But I got to compliment the residents for enduring, for adapting and adjusting. These are some of the most resilient people in this community that I've ever met in my life. Because all they want is a nice place to live and quality water. Trustee Brooks, we on that phone fighting with their butt. So now what's the next steps? I was notified today there's going to be a meeting with Senator Patrick Joyce, mediating between myself and Craig Blanchard. I'm still trying to see, I just had a hip replacement. And I'm getting healthy again. So I'm telling the AD, the Attorney General, and Senator Joyce, how about we just do one charity boxing match, 3 rounds, Mayor Rudez versus Craig Blanchard for Aqua Water. and let's go on and let's put the gloves on because I feel like they've offended us. They really have. Yeah. So that's what the update is with Aqua Water. I'll be doing a Mayor's Corner and I'll be going more intense on economic development. But one thing I do want to say, when this new administration came in, myself and 3 other trustees and the clerk was reelected, it was a bunch of crap. We were told that the audits were up to date and we were all moving forward. Well, come to find out that audit year 14, 15, and 16 weren't done. Thank God to the new to the new administration that we just recently passed those audits. And it looks like we're on track for 17 and 18 because 80% of the work is done already. So by October of 2020, the Village of University Park will be fully up to date on our audit. And then we will open up the doors again to receive our grant funding. Like Shirley, I've got a project, she's working on the OSLAD grant at Pine Lake, which should have been done years ago. That's been on hold because of some of the things that haven't been done before. So again, as I said earlier, we're not in the rear view, we're moving forward, but those are some of the things. And also this other stuff that I hear on this next door neighbor. Let's talk about this. I don't care what they say about me, they can throw daggers and everything else. But what I do care about is the integrity of our community. So when people see that, they're talking about, wow, oh, this is going on. Don't spite us, because it seems like to me, you're working for another group of people who wants to displace the African-American community, take our houses over. All of a sudden, this is the land of milk and honey, the taxes are down and everything is gone. But the whole key is they want us gone because University Park is valuable. With Amazon making a $2 billion investment in the south suburbs, started with University Park with a fulfillment center. Now they're in Matheson doing a robotics center, and they're also in Markham doing a robotics center. That's justification for this 3rd airport. So there's a lot going on. I really can't get into it now. It's rushed. It's 11 o'clock at night, and I just want to ask for a motion to go. So I'll continue this at the Mayor's Corner where we can be more in depth and I can go in a little more detail. I won't be pressed for time. Can I have a motion for adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.